This is the D6 generation with your hosts, Craig Gallant.
No, cut that. Keep that. Someday it's going to be worth something.
Russ Wakelin.
You put me in an ATST with frickin' Wookiees attacking me and whatnot?
Now you're talking. And Romeo Filip in the third chair.
Arr, mateys, I'm ready to go.
With contributions from Total Fangirl.
Vampires do not sparkle.
And our loyal listeners.
Are you crazy? That's like 400 hours of gamer nonsense.
Welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire, the roundtable discussion of all things gaming, coming at you with the speed of a teleporting pirate ship riding a tsunami across the islands of the Caribbean. Ooh. Today's edition is brought to you by all of our fine patrons over at Patreon. Join them today and help us make this show as good as it can be. We're striving to break a record here, folks, with only a couple of months to go. And that includes Jeffrey Morgan, Miko Kirky Suonyo, Canada Andy, David Jarrett, and Rachel. Thanks to you guys and many more. I'm Geekly McNerdigan, your host. Today our panelists are Russ, don't touch that Wakelin, and his foamy overlordship himself, Romeo, can't break this, Philip. Let's begin. Issue number 1. An elevator is a type of vertical transport equipment that efficiently moves people or goods between floors of a building, vessel, or other structure. Elevators are generally powered by electric motors that either drive traction cables or counterweight systems like a hoist or pump hydraulic fluid to raise a cylindrical piston like a jack. Question. What group lived up with the classic Love in an Elevator, and what year did they do it? Rats in the Cellar, Russ. Rock in a Hard Place, Romeo.
Oh my God. This question's like ridiculous.
Aerosmith, 1989, which makes you both sad, pathetic, and wrong. Issue number 2. The classic era of piracy was in the Caribbean from around 1650 up until the mid-1720s. By 1650, France, England, and Spain had begun to develop their colonial empires. This involved considerable seaborne trade between the colonies and the home nations. This meant that a great deal of wealth was traveling on the waves. Question. From what nationality did the original buccaneers, first working from the island of Hispaniola, originate? USS Rachel, Russ.
Spain.
USS Red Witch, Romeo.
Spain.
And that is wrong! French, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Of course, this all comes from the pen of self-professed buccaneer and self-styled historian Pierre Legrand. So take it with a grain of quiche. Issue number 3. Although play has been a fixed curricular element in early childhood education, the growing stress on accountability looks to have led to an equivalent deterioration in the common understanding of the vital contribution that high-quality play, especially pretend play, can make to children's intellectual development. Question. Which of the following is perceived to be the greatest benefit of pretend play in children's development? So you're going to choose one of these 4 as the number 1 greatest benefit. Mind development, problem solving, social and linguistic advancement, or academic skill development. Carl Rogers, Russ.
I'm going to go with problem solving.
Philip Rubin, Romeo.
The linguistic one, 3.
Okay, and we're going to go with mind development, so that you're both wrong. What else teaches you all about physical, somatic, and semantic components? Come on. Issue number 4. Throughout the golden age of piracy, the habit of most governments to issue letters of marque, or basically licenses to pirate, fed the violent trade around the world. Eventually, a majority of the maritime powers came together as they attempted to eradicate piracy for good and agreed to suspend these letters, pledging the support of their navies to pursue and destroy pirates regardless of their origin wherever they were found. Question. The treaty that ended the issuance of letters of marque was signed in what European city that also lent the declaration its name? Richard Worley Wakelin.
Versailles.
John Fenn Phillip.
London.
The answer is the Declaration of Paris in 1856, which makes you all wrong on every question. That's it for now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
This episode of the D6 Generation is brought to you by Lone Wolf Development. Take your game to the next level. And by Conquistador Games, focusing on immersive and thematic games. More details at cqgames.com.
And by Geek Nation Tours. Rise up and join the Geek Nation touring the world at geeknationtours.com.
And by Game Salute, publishing awesome tabletop games through the Powered by Game Salute program, supporting independent publishers, stores, and the industry at gamesalute.com. Hello!
Hola.
Hey, and welcome to episode 156, Craig.
156. That is a big number.
Of the D6 generation. I'm Russ Wakelin.
I'm Craig Gallant.
And I'm the guy they filled in for the other guy, Romeo Filip.
Yes. There you go. Romeo,
Yes, that
welcome
makes
back.
perfect sense.
Mr. Battlefoam himself, Romeo Filip, on the show. Romeo, thanks so much for joining us.
The foamy overlord.
The foamy overlord, the man with the foam.
Yep.
So thanks so much for joining us, Romeo. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
It's not like he's busy. I mean, come on.
Got nothing to do these days.
No,
I
just
just
run a foam empire.
drinking margaritas.
There you go.
There we go.
Interrupting it.
How's your golf game going? You still doing that?
Like kickoff.
Good.
Stupid.
All
Right. So you play miniature games. That's what you do when
I
you're
hate loving it.
Oh, you hate loving it. Oh, it's a love-hate
a
relationship.
guilty pleasure.
Like so much.
Yes.
So on today's show, we're going to talk with Romeo a bit about, we're going to get a Battle Foam update, right, Craig?
Well, it's been so long since Romeo was first on. I mean, we're talking like almost 125 episodes ago.
Feels like it.
Okay. So, so we're going to talk to Romeo about, how did it get started again? It's interesting to hear the stories with all the perspective now and the success, because when we first talked to Romeo, he was like, literally right out of the gate. So, it's fun to reminisce about that. And then he tells us about, what's been going on since then and what the future holds.
Exactly.
Like it.
And later,
Can't wait. I'm so excited.
I know. And then later we're going to review one of my favorite surprise gets at Gen Con, the Black Fleet.
The surprise guests?
Get.
Oh, get.
I didn't expect to get this game, and it was a surprise, and I got it.
Yes, it was fun.
So we're going to talk about that a little later, too. But first, we got to get to a few little things. So up front here, we did just do a Lost Chapter, Craig. Do you remember what we talked about in the Lost Chapter?
I did, Russ. I do, Russ. We did. We got together, just you and I hung out in Dunkin' Donuts, and you regaled me with your stories of the kids and their their first Dungeons and Dragons session.
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons 5. E5. I can't
5E.
remember.
5E.
Yeah. And then we talked about how to get kids into role playing and why role playing is cool for kids, and you gave some advice on that. It was very cool, very interesting.
Exactly. So if you're interested in doing all that, check out the Lost Chapters. And the way you do that is you go to our website and you click the little stack of books on the right-hand side that says the Lost Chapters, and that will take you to our Lost Chapters page and tells you all about which episodes have been there, all the different things in all the episodes of Lost Chapters.
It's all lined up for you.
And the two great ways you can support the show. One of them is to join our Patreon page, become a patron of the arts, or whatever we call this activity we do, and support the show that way. And if you do that as a thank you, we give you a free extra 45 minutes of content we call the Lost Chapters.
That's right.
The other way to do it, of course, is to go to our Libsyn page over the D6generation.com and click on it that way. And that will also take you to a way to subscribe via phone apps, whether it's iOS or Android. Either way, whatever you prefer, both support the show, so we really appreciate that helps.
Yep.
Now, what's time now for, Craig?
Right about now, it's probably time for
Achievements in Gaming.
It is. What was that?
That was
Really?
extra. That was extra, man.
That's bonus content.
Yeah, that's yeah. Cut that. Keep it. It's going to be worth something someday.
All right. And Achievements in Gaming is brought to us by all the amazing people who helped make Extra Life possible, from those who ran events to those who collected pledges, including those folks who donated massive amounts of money to raise over $5.5 million for sick children. You all truly show what it means to be a gamer. So,
Wait.
yes,
Hold on.
Romeo?
Do I have that cool sounding effect to my voice right now?
No.
Hello?
You sound normal.
Do you want it? Do you want
Dang
it?
it. No, I was.
sorry.
No, you don't.
Hello.
That's official hosts only.
Right,
Seriously.
right. Guests don't get that noise.
Seriously. Okay.
No, I have my mixing board. I was trying to do it too.
Oh.
Did it work? It didn't work.
Press the wrong button. No, hold
fail.
on. I have. Hold
Wait,
on.
try
hold
again.
on. Hold on.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, good.
You sound
Very
like
nice. Awesome. Ross, you want to join us in the cave?
no.
You don't think that would be great?
I'm going to stay out here in the sunshine.
All right. Sorry.
Okay. So anyway.
Anywho, so Romeo, and this noise, by the way, you're going to hear now. That is the achievement in gaming noise. We make that noise whenever someone does an achievable, interesting, geeky achievement.
That's right.
And in this case,
that's the redundancy of the Department of Redundancies.
Exactly. So, Romeo, what have you been playing lately?
Ooh, can I go into anything? Video games, all that stuff?
Keep video games for later. Board games, miniature games, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so board game, miniature games, fantasy.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
All over it. I've been
Really? Wow. Jumping back in. Mr. I Hate Fantasy is now into fantasy.
You know what did it for me? Game of Thrones.
That
show.
That has had a huge impact on your entire life.
It has in big ways. And it got me playing fantasy, and my favorite army of all time just all of a sudden started getting crazy awesome stuff added. My vampire count and horse, Nagash and his deadly 3 horsies or whatever 3 people are that are just awesome. I just been playing the heck out of some fantasy. We've probably gotten 10 games in since some of that stuff has come out, and I love it, man. It's so story driven. I like that.
Yeah, Joel in the chat room just commented, Romeo, that 1977 called and they want their Warhammer Fantasy back.
That was when I was born, so actually
that works out pretty well then.
I was born 1977. It's perfect.
Yes.
Oh, look at that.
Well, that's awesome. I think it's great you're getting back into fantasy. Now, what do you... It's just that your factions got more stuff, or you digging the... I'm
digging the fluff, new fluff, the story of Nagash. I picked up all of his novels. I started reading some of those. I mean, there's so many friggin' novels about Nagash, and just starting from the beginning on him has been very entertaining. It breaks up the Wild Westness that I've been reading like crazy, which is obviously all the stuff I do with Craig and the other authors and whatnot for Wild West Exodus. So between playing that more like a job than playing it for fun anymore, it's nice to get away and do something completely different like fantasy and really enjoy that part of the stories and the cool characters and the dark, grim neatness of the way they've kind of darkened up fantasy instead of like, little elves and cute little butterflies and just the stupidness that it was, Warhammer years ago. Now it's dark and dirty.
So it's not
now. Andy in the chat room makes an excellent point. You have a reputation for being really anti Warhammer Fantasy, but yet you just said your favorite army. Have you played? Did you play Vampire Counts back in a day?
Yeah, no, you know what? I don't know where that rumor came out. I've heard that too. People are like, I thought you hated fantasy. I'm like, I've never even said that. What the hell?
I thought you said it right on this show, and you talked about how you hate dragons and...
Oh, no, different.
Okay.
So, dragons...
And not, we should say, Game of Thrones dragons. You're all okay with those.
Right.
But see, here's the thing. Game of Thrones dragons made me like all dragons.
Really? It opened the floodgates.
I recant on dragon hate. I now no longer hate the old flying lizard. I find the flying lizard very cool now because Game of Thrones actually showed him being cool.
Got it.
So I like that. The serrated teeth.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I do like fantasy. I did play fantasy back in the day, probably 5 years ago when the last edition of the Vampire Counts came out. Whatever that was.
Yeah.
And now I'm really into it. So yeah.
Cool.
Exciting.
Excellent. So, achievement for playing fantasy. That's great.
Yeah.
What else you playing? So mostly is that where all your time's going right now? Warhammer Fantasy Battles?
Wild West X is that. And then I'm trying to think what, I just picked up, I just got it in the mail a couple days ago. I just got that Heroes of Normandy, the War card. It's not cards. It's like the little placards. I don't even want to call them, little cardboard. There's no actual models, but the models are like little cardboard cutouts.
Yeah, it's like a chit game.
Yeah, a little chip punch board game.
Yep.
I haven't read the book or the rules yet for it, but it looks really fun.
Nice. That was a big Kickstarter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a cutesy little thing, and I'm digging it. So that's another one I'll probably get into here in the near future. Of course, X-Wing. We dabbled in that until we got just bored of playing it every lunch hour. So after 3 weeks of nonstop every lunch hour shooting each other with the same 19 ships, just put it away.
That's the only problem with Star Wars. It's only 2 factions. They still have the faction problem.
I know. The funny thing about it, it's so popular and it makes so much money. I don't know how.
Well, that's because it's Star Wars and they look cool. The ships are fantastic. So you glossed over Wild West Exodus, though, Romeo. Are you playing a lot of it? What's your favorite faction right now?
Yeah, Enlightened. You know what? It's hard for me as a developer of the game to play it and not be one-sided because I always play the latest stuff to test it. Yeah. So when I played the latest stuff, the hardest part for me was writing the rules for the models is not to like power creep them because you want to win because you're creating them. So unlike before where, whatever, my Imperial Guard commissar sucked because he just was written a certain way and I wanted to change him. Now I'm just like, oh, really? This underboss sucks? Guess what? Now he doesn't,
Right.
He just, from marksmanship 6+, he's a marksmanship 3+, eat it. He just killed everything. And you can do that. So, I try
but
not
probably shouldn't.
But probably is very bad for the game.
Yeah.
So, we corral that nowadays. But, I would say Enlightened by far I played the most. I like the creepiness of them. I think the Outlaws is naturally my transgression after because of Jesse James and the character we built around him and all the other characters that fall under that faction. So those are my two main ones I play. But like I said, I play them all at least once every 2 weeks. I play each faction at least once.
So
just to kind of
I have a question for you, Romeo. So I love the Outlaws, and my favorite character is Jesse James just for the fluff, but also for how he plays in the table. Now, I tend to win with him a lot. And so my question for you is, if my opponents are feeling like Jesse James, the little OP, what would you recommend they take to make sure that that's not going to be a problem anymore?
So, I know, right?
I know, I keep winning too much. I need you to modify the game so I don't win so much, Romeo. When's the last time somebody asked you that question?
Oh, my God.
The biggest thing Jesse's got going for him, is, especially if he takes Frank with him, he gets to kind of deflect a little bit of the hits on him. So if you're a defensive or if you're a player playing against him and somebody's got Jesse hiding out, more than likely they have a Frank James in the army. Kill Frank. He's easier to kill. He's less lifeblood. He's going to be easy to take down. Once he's out of the way, then he doesn't have that defense system that's going to take lifeblood off of him and put on his brother or take pot shots at you or any of the stuff that Frank does. So I would aim for his buddies first, if that's happening. So if somebody's playing you, aim for your buddies. If not, and they got an open shot at Jesse James, just focus fire. It's the easiest thing to do against any boss, really. It's just focus fire. It's going to take pretty much 3 of your actions, and you have to assume you're going to trade off a model to 2 for him. And that's okay. Yeah. If you go into the game deciding which guy you're going to sacrifice to get JJ off the battlefield, do it and just count it as a good win, because let's say you do it with 2 sidekicks and they're both together maybe 250 points, maybe 275 points that you're throwing away, and you're getting rid of a 200+ point model in Jesse. Good riddance. You know, it's a good trade-off because of what he can do at his...
Jesse's really powerful. That's a good trade. That's probably good advice. Now, the chat room's also telling me that if I want to lose at Wild West Exodus, just to play my own daughter. Which
that's true. That's probably true.
It is true, because I lose a War Machine to them all the time, so that makes sense.
That's awesome.
Great. Anything else you're playing, Romeo? That's
if we own the video games, I'm playing Diablo.
Okay, we'll talk about that and other there, but that's good stuff. So, Craig, what have you been playing?
Well, I'm right in the middle of play production now, so I don't have a lot of time. I talked last episode about the Roman naval combat game that was about to happen the day after we recorded. I played that, and for the second year in a row, for some reason, I have an entire class that's not afraid of me, and instead they kill me. I'm the first one dead.
Nice.
So that's really, really rough. I've got this awesome looking Roman battle barge, and I just get the crap shot out of me by pretty much every student who deploys near me. And the only good thing about that is when the next kid dies, I get to go, I know it sucks, right? Nobody actually picked on you, so you're okay. Because a lot of these kids kind of take it personally in games. They don't have that gamer experience of getting taken out of a game. Right. So it's fun. It's still fun watching them play and seeing all their wacky little boats floating all over the floor. But someday I want to go back to the good old days when all the kids were scared of me and they wanted me on their team.
Nice.
That hasn't happened since then. We had state testing, and long-time listeners will remember that during state testing I lose about half of each class, so I can't really do anything that week or those 2 days this time, because this testing gets a little smaller every year, which is a good thing. So we played the Resistance. I gave them a bunch of different options, and the class sizes were all down below 10. So we played the Resistance, and they loved it to the point where now every day I go in, are we going to play that? I have a German exchange student who's awesome. She went from, I don't play games like this, to, are we going to play that game again? No, I mean, and she really got into it, and she was throwing the accusations and had everybody pegged, and
Oops, sorry. Little background music there.
Russ, a little technical difficulty there.
Yeah, I guess
Russ.
so.
And then I had one student whose dad is in the military, and he got ordered to ship out, and she ended up leaving the class about 2 weeks in. She was very sad to go, and on her last day, I wanted to do something special, so we played Werewolf.
Nice.
So I played, and they loved it. So I played Werewolf, and that's pretty much all the games that I've been playing. Russ, I bet you have a big giant list.
It's longer than that. Yeah, sure. So, got my Wave 2 of Rivet Wars. Craig, have you seen these models?
I have seen the models.
I forgot. I haven't played it, but I got it.
What's that? Oh, you got it. So yeah. Did you get Wave 2, Romeo? The second.
Yeah, I got all of them. Yeah.
So in Wave 2, really kicks the game up a notch because first of all, you get 3D terrain for the bunkers and the objectives.
Yep.
That's cool.
And my favorite part about the objectives now, you know how, Craig, you can get control of the objective and you put a token on it, it stays yours until the enemy gets in there.
Yep.
Well, now the new plastic ones come with each gray flags and green flags, and you put your flag in the middle of the objective, which just looks great.
Cool. Yep.
And there's a little hole to hold the flag up. And then also we got aircraft. So I have basically the Red Baron and a Sopwith Camel for the good guys there. And the air implementation for the rules are great. It's like one more sheet of rules, really, really simple, but the planes actually occupy negative space on the board. So if anybody's played Rivet Wars, you know that there's these big, they call them grids, and they're larger squares that have 4 sub-squares inside of them, and your men stand inside of those, and you move by giant squares at a time. Well, the way the planes' bases are designed, they're crosses, and they go in the negative space between the grids. So as the planes fly around, they actually consume no space on the board. So they actually can fly right over the troops, be in the middle of a giant army, and they don't take any space up, which is really clever. The flight maneuvering is really simple, but it does make you make passes, and there's a special move each plane has. So the German can do an Emmelmann and basically reverse his direction. The Sopwith can do a different direction switch. Really nice rules. Works great. Also, there's included like all kinds of special characters now. There's basically like a Red Skull and all kinds of cool stuff. And it's a lot of fun. And adding that extra little bit of stuff to it really kicks the game up a notch. We had a great time with it. So I think we're going to get to a lot more to the table now. There's more variety to the models. So definitely. And the models are fantastic. They look.
I can't wait to see it in action.
Speaking of cool new models, I've been playing a lot of Sentinel Tactics. So Sentinels of the Multiverse, you guys may know, is that really great Greater Than Games card game, and it's a co-op card game. So the game runs the villain based on a deck of cards in it, and then you all play a hand of cards that control your hero. So you had 4 heroes fighting a villain, right? Classic comic book stuff, and they did a great job with creating this whole universe and backstory. And it's not an IP; it's their own IP. So it's not Marvel or DC; it's just their own stuff. But they came out. I backed this Kickstarter about a year ago now, which is when you get Kickstarters nowadays. Called Sentinel Tactics, which is a tactical miniature game, board game, based in the same universe. So now you have sort of these really cool giant hexagons, which you put down, and most of the time they orient to be a city with a bunch of small hexes in them you move from. And they've got icons on the hexes that show you the altitude of the various buildings in the city. And so you can be standing on the top of the building to see farther. And if you're down running along the street, it's faster, but people can't see you as well. And with the Kickstarter, you got a bunch of miniatures as well that actually look pretty solid for all the different figures. And it's basically the easiest way to describe this game is it's Descent with superheroes. So in most of the games, one player plays the villain and the rest of the table plays heroes. And it's very much like Descent against an overlord, but there are variants where there are multiple villains controlled by other players as well. What I really like about it, though, is unlike Descent, where the overlord's got a whole different set of rules, in this game, everybody's rules are identical. You basically have a small hand of cards, you pick which powers are active, and you got a sheet that tracks all your wounds, and you run your guy around the table and basically beat each other up. But what's really cool is each of the scenarios are comic books that come in the box. So you take out a comic book, and it's got several pages of actual comic art that set up the story. Then it's got a scenario. Then there's several more pages of comic art. Then it's got a second scenario and several more pages of comic art and a third scenario. And these 3 scenarios together, which take about an hour, form an entire little mini campaign. So in 3 hours, you can play through a whole story. Really, really great. Works really, really well. And I would say to anyone who tries this game, if you only play the very first scenario in the intro book, you will think the game is very light. It doesn't have a lot of depth to it. Play the second scenario as well. The first scenario is designed just to get you into the basics of movement and stuff. Play the second. As soon as you hit the second scenario, you're really going to understand the depth of it, and it's going to get really interesting. And we were just really impressed by it. And my whole Descent crew is now like ready to play this thing a lot. It's a great game. So if you like superheroes and you like Descent, definitely check out Sentinel Tactics.
Cool.
All right.
Also played Black Fleet, which we'll talk more about later. Played Diamonds by Stronghold Games. This is a trick-taking card game. So you've heard of Spades and Hearts. The tagline is, you've heard of Spades and Hearts, now play Diamonds. But what's neat about Diamonds is it is just essentially a deck of cards, but also in the box come with a bunch of little vault player screens. Each player gets a little vault 3D screen that's in the front of them. And it's also got a giant bag of diamonds, little plastic diamonds. And as you take tricks in this game, like hearts or spades, and it's very much like hearts or spades, you lead with a suit, and you must follow with the same suit if you have it in your hand. And it's a deck of cards that looks kind of like conventional cards, but there's no face cards. It's numbered all the way to 14. So you play the card. If I don't have a spade, let's say Craig led with spades. If I don't have a spade, I can play any card I want. If I have a spade, I got to play a spade into the trick, and the highest number in the lead suit takes the trick. Here's the neat part, though. If I play a card that's not in the lead suit, because I don't have it, the card I play immediately gets me to take an action, depending on the card it is. So if it's a diamond card, I can take a diamond from the diamond pile and put it inside my vault. If it's a heart, I can take a diamond from my showroom in front of my vault and put it inside my vault. And if it's a club, I can steal a diamond from Romeo's showroom and put it inside my showroom and things like that. And really the goal is to get as many diamonds as you can inside your vault. So there's all these little mini actions you do. It's a pretty neat game. If you like trick-taking games, not a lot of really theme on this. The diamonds are really just for point tracking, but it's a neat trick-taking game. And if you're a card game player, it went over great. At my office, we have a gaming club now at lunch. And while we are playing some really neat board games and games that gamers would know, there's also a small contingent who really like trick-taking games. So I was able to bring this one out and break it in with that group, and they really liked it a lot. Also played Cash and Guns, the second edition. Have you guys played Cash and Guns?
No, what's that? Is that the card game?
No, yeah.
Not a card game.
I played it like a month ago and forgot to mention it in achievements. So yes, I played it. It's awesome.
So Romeo, you would like this game. I think you need to get this.
You would.
Here's where you got to play this game, though. You got to play this game in a warehouse, which you have, on an upside-down cardboard box, which I'm sure you have, and a bunch of stools. So it's like a bunch of, jamokes in a warehouse playing a card. Because basically, you're all gangsters. And the game comes with 8 styrofoam guns, okay? And so what you do is you lay down in the middle of the table a bunch of different kinds of loot. And a lot of the loot cards are money. And they're all face up. So you see what's on the end. There's money, there's works of art, stuff like that. And then what you do is one player starts off as the boss. So he's the godfather, right? And he counts down from 3. And the next thing you do is you lock in. You have a hand of cards. Most of these cards say click on them. But 3 of the cards say bang on them. And you can lock in. You're basically putting one bullet in your gun. You can decide to make it a blank, or you can make the bullet a real bullet. And then you put the card face down in front of you each. So I'm going to put down one of my cards. So you don't know, Romeo, if I'm loading a blank in my gun or a real bullet in my gun. Then the Godfather says, 3, 2, 1, go. And everybody takes their foam gun and points it directly at another player at the table. So, Romeo, you might be across the table. I pointed at you. If Craig's sitting tomorrow, I might put it right to Craig's temple. Whatever. We all point our guns. And then the Godfather gets to pick one person and say, hey, change who you're aiming at, bud. Right? And it's usually he does this if someone's aiming at him. He'll say to change who you're aiming at. Then, at that moment, you can decide to duck and basically not get shot. So let's say Craig and I are both shooting at Romeo. Romeo's like, oh, crap, I'm going to get shot pretty much no matter what I do. I'm going to duck. If you duck, you will not get shot, but you won't have a shot at the loot. If you do not duck, then everybody reveals their cards, and if a bang goes off, you take a wound, and you cannot loot either that round. And if it's a click, you're okay. And then basically you go around the table, everybody who's still standing up gets to pick one of the loot cards. And you keep playing over and over again until all the loot cards are gone, and then whoever's got the most loot wins, but you don't want to die. That's the problem. You only have 3 wounds. So it's a really simple game, and it sounds kind of silly and stupid, but there's an awful lot of fun in just pointing phone guns at people. So if you don't mind doing that, definitely give it a try.
Very cool. I like it.
So that is Cash and Guns. And I got that because I think it's going to be awesome at work. It's a really easy game to teach.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
And I just can't wait to see my CEO walk by and watch us all pointing foam guns at each other at lunch. That's going to be a real win.
Yeah, that's one I don't think I can bring into the school.
Yeah, I don't think it'll go well at school at all, probably.
No.
And then also got another game of Student Bodies in, which we've talked about in reviewed prior episodes.
Yep,
I'm still loving that game. Great times. And then finally played a lot of D&D 5e with my kids. We are running the Horde of the Dragon Queen adventure, which I'm really liking. They did a good job with that. And I've talked about that on Lost Chapters, so I won't dig in here. But we are having a blast with that, and I'm really impressed with how much the kids are really enjoying that. So, that's all my pulp stuff. What about modeling, Romeo? You gotten any paint on any models lately?
Whew, boy, let me tell you. So I did start painting some zombies because I have thousands of them now for my stupid army.
Nice.
Fantasy, of course, you have to have zombies and skeletons.
But you know what? Zombies are easy to paint. That's the good news.
They are.
Well,
I'm using the Mantic ghouls as my zombies.
Those are nice figs.
They're very good. Actually, I'm using the ghouls and the zombies, mix them together, making them like ghoul zombies, which is even better. So I've painted those guys, and they've come out really nice. And the other ones I started working on my Enlightened faction, and then midway through, I threw in the towel because I was just realizing I was starting to like cheat a little bit and make my guys look kind of crappy. And I actually sent them out to one of our fans, one of our actual gamer buddies that fans of Wild West Exodus, who I've seen his skills of painting on our forum posted in like one of our hobby sections. I contacted him. I said, hey, would you take on commission? He said, absolutely. So I sent him my army to finish up, and he is currently working on it as we speak.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Yes, sir, indeed.
Very nice.
Nice. Craig, how about you? What have you been painting?
I'm still going full bore on my pre-heresy army, my Sons of Horus. So I have finished all the Terminators, which I think they look awesome. They've all got the little Roman little strappy skirt things now, and they've got the big, bulky pre-heresy shoulder pads from Max Mini.
Yep.
I actually did a pre-heresy Abaddon based on what he looks like and what he carries in the books for his weapons and stuff. Got all kinds of little bits from eBay and stuff to make that. The Dreadnought's all done now using a bunch of different plastic bits. And this is a project that I have had in the works literally since I worked for Games Workshop. So over 10 years ago, I started collecting the bits and pieces for this. And in fact, I have cannibalized a bunch of bits that I had bought for my Divine Wind Space Marine army, which was the Space Marine army that I got my Bronze Golden Demon for in 1999.
Hey.
So in 1999, I was building this army that was going to be basically way before the White Scars ever got any kind of rules. It was basically going to be my own Japanese White Scars version. And I never finished it for whatever reasons. It was one of many 40K projects that went by the wayside when I was churning out 2 or 3 armies a year. And so I made 3 pre-heresy Space Marine jet bikes.
Wow.
With plastic bits and Battlefleet Gothic bits, and I'm really happy with the way that they turned out. So that's been, I'm not painting. I'm not going to paint anything till I get the whole army ready. But yeah, so I'm really super excited that I finally made those pre-heresy jet bikes to a design that I came up with literally probably about 10 years ago.
Nice.
And have been wanting to do and just never got around to it. And this time I've decided that I'm going to spend the time. I'm going to work through whatever pops up, and I'm really excited. So yeah, I think they look cool. I can't wait to get some paint on them.
Cool.
And that's what I've done. What about you, Russ?
Nice. Well, not a lot really. But I did, okay. Again.
What is going on?
The wrong button for achievements. What's going on there, man?
Wow,
I have a
Russ.
technology fail today. It must be. I'm a little nervous in front of this live studio audience here. I'm not going to lie. It's throwing me
Yeah,
off.
well, it's tough.
No. One thing, 2 things that are sort of modeling. One is I did go through my Sentinel Tactics, and I want to paint the guys up because they look fantastic. I didn't get the bases though for one of the boxes. They didn't come with them. What's weird about the way they did the bases in Sentinel Tactics is kind of cool because there's so much cool artwork on the game board, the way they did the cities and stuff. But they made the bases clear hexagons. So when your hero's standing in the city, he's just on a clear base. You can see right through it and see the city, which is great. But the weird thing they did was all the figures are in these really dynamic poses, and some have their legs really akimbo. Some legs are really close together. Some of them are crouching. And they have different numbers of pegs, and the pegs are spaced differently on their feet. And what they did was each clear base has a different spacing for these peg holes. So they line up and have the characters' names etched into the bases. So you can't, it's not like you get a pile of bases and you just glue them to them like with Privateer Press or GW or something. You actually have to match up the right base to the right figure. Now, where this became a problem was because I had 2 boxes of figures because there's the core game and the expansion from Kickstarter. So the expansion came without bases. The core game, the bases were missing. And I went to Kickstarter. I sent a message to Greater Games. They responded instantly. Oh, very sorry. We'll get them right out to you. So they're mailing to me. So the guys are awesome. They're taking care of it. So the interim I wanted to play, but I can't really swap the bases out because they're all essentially custom per figure. So I am working on that, though, and I can't wait to get those done and nailed down. It's a little tricky painting them. I think I'm going to leave them off their bases and prime them off the base because you want the base to stay clear, right? So you can see through the base.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's going to be fun. And the other thing I'm doing, which is not modeling but has to do with figure manipulation, so I'm going to count it, is when I'm playing this D&D 5e stuff with my daughters and my niece and nephew, I need a way to represent all these models on the table. Well, I have this giant vat of Descent stuff. So I've been using my Descent 2 figures for for all the heroes for them to choose from for that, and all the monsters to choose from for the monsters to fight. And that's been going great. And I've actually been using Descent tiles just as like rough approximations for what the alleyways of the city might look like using the outdoor tiles, or in the, and that's been working great. And actually it's pretty fast too. Normally we use a white, a flat sheet of something, and dry erase markers work on, and we draw as we go. And my brother was noticing, because he's playing also, that it actually turned out to be faster to flop down a few Descent tiles and just play a battle than it is to actually draw out the exact configuration of a dungeon room to fight in, and then have your hex grid on it. So we're really that technique actually is working pretty well. So we're really pleased with that.
Yep.
And then I also used the D&D Dungeon Command tiles and figures, right, too. So the Dungeon Command tiles are all nice and open. So if you're out in the field fighting, that's perfect for that. So that's also great, too. So a lot of great stuff. That and Wrath of Charlon, all those games, all those figures. I got tons of figures now for all these different situations.
No kidding, huh?
Good times. So that's modeling. So now we got our other Romeo. So here's where you can jump in with video games and TV shows and that kind of like stuff.
Oh, how exciting.
So what have you been doing on that front?
See, we've just been listening to Russ for what seems like forever.
Right. Sorry, guys. I'm just kidding.
Go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, you guys want to know what I'm digging into?
Yeah.
So I got the PS4, of course.
Yeah, right.
Because I just was not a fan of the Peeping Tom Xbox One.
You're a rebel, that's all. You're a rebel.
I was a big Xbox 360 fan. I had Xbox Live. I played all the games. It was a great transition to PS2. And then Xbox decided to take a giant doozy on all of us customers and faithfuls by making it overpriced and having it watch you while you play video games. And I don't want it to watch me.
You don't like to connect.
Keep your eyes on yourself, Xbox.
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
All right.
You keep your dirty little eyes on yourself, all right? I'll finger your controller, not the other way around, buddy.
Oh, jeez.
Jeez, Romeo.
Wow.
I don't like it, and I told him to beat it. So anyway, got the PS4 and have been addicted to the graphics in the games. And right now I'm trying to conquer Diablo, which is literally 48 million hours long.
Yeah, it's a long game. It's good, though. I really like that one.
Yeah. And I don't even know what level. Who cares?
Right.
I don't even know. I don't even know where the ending even is to know like where my goal is to go.
I mean, Diablo's not really about Gauntlet, because someone in the chat room saying Gauntlet. Diablo's not really even about the story or the ending. It's just like hack and slash, loot, right? Which is nothing wrong with that. It's essentially Gauntlet on steroids, really.
Yeah, it's just like build up your guy, get a cool hat, get a cool belt, look neat in the little stills, and then go and hack monsters. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's mindless.
Right, it's fun
though. It's been fun. That one's been a lot of fun. And then I'm a big sports guy, so I play NBA 2K and all these other typical sports games.
Nice.
But that's it.
You watching any TV shows or anything? You get into any of the fall hotness?
Because I want to get the forum all riled up, or your guys' chat room all riled up. So I bought Destiny.
Yeah.
Right? You guys know that was like the end of the world. Oh my God, you must have it.
Yes.
And no offense, I thought it stunk.
You don't like it. I like Destiny. So okay, let's go.
Today the role of Wraith will be played by.
So what didn't you like about Destiny?
Okay, so I'll tell you what I didn't like. And you know what's really funny, right? So I had it for a day, 24 hours. Yeah, literally 24 hours. Because I knew instantly I wasn't going to like it. And I played it for probably 5 hours first night.
Okay, yeah.
And I returned it. I'm in line waiting to return it. What are the odds of this? I'm in line ready to return it. The guy in front of me is returning Destiny. The guy behind me is returning Destiny. The guy behind him is looking to buy Destiny. So
you're like, hey, $10, I'll give you Destiny.
the guy in front of me, he's at the counter first, obviously, and the GameStop guy goes, "Oh, why are you trading this in already?" He goes, "I'm not a fan, man, not my kind of game."
Right.
And I'm thinking, holy shit, that's me too. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Mark the tape.
Holy crap. I was like, holy crap, me too. Same thing, not my style game. And in the meantime, the guy behind me is like, oh my God, me too. So all of a sudden there's like the three of us, and then there's like this little guy in the back. He's like, guys, I want to buy it. So the GameStop guy goes,
still apparently
pretty cool dude. He goes, if anybody wants to do a transaction outside the store that I know nothing about, feel free to step outside and work out your dealings. Right. And the guy behind me sold it to the dude waiting in line.
There you go.
He got like $5 more than the trade he was.
There you go.
So anyway. But anyway, I didn't like it because it was repetitive.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I don't, but I like. Here's the thing, and I've told some my local friends this too. Most of our games locally love it. But I liked Halo as well, and I like Halo because Bungie has this thing where there's just something really, really fluid and smooth about the first-person shooters that Bungie builds. And it's got that, which I really, really like, and it's got the seamless vehicle interactions and all that great stuff. So I love it, but there are parts of it that, I mean, like the dancing and the MMO elements of it, I'm like, you don't need that. But I do like it a lot, so I'm enjoying it. But I don't play games for 16 hours straight either. I'd come in, play for an hour or two, then leave, and it works well for that kind of time frames for me. So
okay,
but I get it. I get why some people don't like it. It's very different.
Yeah.
Right?
So not a fan of that. But anyways, so what am I watching? I just finished watching Breaking Bad. I know I'm 4 years behind the times, but I missed my wife started watching it when it was on TV, and she watched it throughout as it was going live. And I saw the suffering in her when the seasons were ending and the new ones were waiting for the new ones to start. So I was like, I am not jumping on that train because I know I'm going to love that show and I'm going to be so upset when I have to wait.
It's best binge watched.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I literally quit and went, waited for whatever amount of time it was, I guess 4 years, I guess the show ended this year or whatever. And I watched them all over the course of like 4 days.
Nice.
Epic, man. Holy cow.
Wow.
Yeah. It makes me want to be a high school science teacher. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
Well, exactly.
It was awesome. You are the Walter White of D6G.
There you go. Well, Craig, how about you, man? What have you been doing?
What have I been doing? Well, I finished Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, and I've got to say that was my favorite book in years.
Wow, really?
And I will tell you, listening to that book, I said, "Oh my God," out loud at least 3 times in like the last few chapters of the book. Just
all right, I'm off to Audible to add to my wish list.
I'm telling you, I was blown away. And then unfortunately, they do this silly thing where they include like a glossary and appendix at the end of the audiobook. So you're thinking, "Oh, I've got like 20 more minutes. This is going to be awesome." And then it's like, the 10 powers are, and then it's like the 2 narrators reading a table. I'm like, okay, I'm really sort of disappointed. Yeah. So I'd almost leave, I literally would yank that if I was the people who owned that book, because you end an amazing book thinking you've got some more time. It's going to be great. Oh, I can't wait. What are they going to do? And then there's an oh my God moment, literally moments before the book ends, but you've got 15 more minutes. You're like, oh, this is going to be great. The table of contents. I'm like, oh God, no. So that was awesome.
It's a tease.
It's just sad. I immediately jumped in on Russ's recommendation on Hard Magic by Larry Correia.
How far are you now?
I'm not that far. I think I'm like 4 or 5 hours in.
Cool.
And I'll tell you, first of all, it's as good as anything else he's written. I love it. It's awesome. His writing is awesome, but it is jarringly different from the high fantasy of Words of Radiance.
Oh, yeah.
So it took a little getting used to. And the 1920s/30s is not really a time period I'm super engaged with.
Oh, it's gangsters, man. Come on.
Yeah,
gangsters.
but I've never really,
knife to a gunfight, man. It's all.
On the other hand, I love Boardwalk Empire, so I was like, so that gave me my little in.
All right, there you go.
And that sort of, and it literally took about an hour or so for me to sort of shake off Words of Radiance.
Oh, there you go.
And be in the mind frame for this new book, which I think is great. The only issue I'm having, and actually a few hours in, it sort of gets taken care of. But for the first few hours, I was like, this feels way more like a superhero book than a magic book. And because they've all got their powers and they've all they feel like way more superheroes than people using magic, and then they explain the magic, and then that it gets all cool.
I do have this policy that I always use. After I finish a book, like especially a really, really good book, I can't jump into another book because I need to kind of like decompress,
process.
So I always listen to a podcast to like cleanse the palate.
Yeah, I should have done that.
You need a little palate cleansing there.
Yeah, I should have listened to a big podcast, like a 4-hour podcast. If I could find one of those,
you find something like that. You just cleanses the palate.
Yeah. Right. So there's that, and I'm still reading Horus Heresy book. So I'm on Flight of the Eisenstein. By James Swallow. It's really, really good. Yep. What, Romeo?
That's a great book. I read that.
Yeah, no, it's a great book. It is. As far as TV goes, Sleepy Hollow, I started to watch the season premiere of Sleepy Hollow, and in the last season on Sleepy Hollow, I say literally a lot, I just realized.
Yes, you do.
Like 30 seconds in, I went, "Oh my god, I didn't finish."
I missed
the last
you
season.
missed. If
so
you
I had
missed
to
this
go back and
cliffhanger,
watch
then
the
you
last
really,
four. And of course, it ruins the
of
last
course it does.
episode.
You're right.
So I had to go back and watch the last 4 episodes of last season, knowing what the big, what the big twist was going to be. So, but I needed to, get that out of the way. And then I watched the new episode. I loved it.
I'm digging it.
That
Yeah.
show's great.
It's good stuff. Yeah,
okay, so hold on before we go on.
Okay.
What is this Sleepy Hollow about? I was looking at it on my Netflix, and I thought, or wherever on my little Apple TV thing, and I was thinking about putting it into my queue to watch it, but then I was like, well,
it's good.
What is it about? All right, so break it down. Just don't spoil anything, but what's the point here?
Here's the high level. So Ichabod Crane,
the
guy who's the
Headless Horseman.
No, he's not the Headless Horseman.
No, he's the victim of the Headless Horseman.
He's the victim in the classic story. He's the victim of the Headless Horseman.
Right.
Ichabod Crane in this one is a Revolutionary War
James Bond
soldier who turns out he's fighting some strange stuff, some creepy magical stuff like the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse type stuff. Okay. Anyway, he is killed,
what era?
But not killed.
It's in the Revolution, during the Revolutionary War.
Right.
He's a soldier in the Revolutionary War. In this big final battle, he cuts the head off this Hessian mercenary.
Right.
And gets himself slashed across the chest, so he dies.
But
his wife is a witch,
right?
So she does these things to preserve him, so that he will wake up 250 years in the future. Because it's actually this big giant war between good and evil. And so he comes back, unbeknownst to him that this is all happening. He has to learn about it all when he wakes up. So it's got that whole strange in a strange land kind of thing where he's this guy, a knight, Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court in reverse.
Right.
So you've got this guy from Revolutionary times now in modern times, and he hooks up with a police detective who's just about to go into the FBI. She's an up and comer, a rising star. Her mentor gets killed because the Headless Horseman all of a sudden shows up in modern day Sleepy Hollow.
Let's not spoil the whole show.
I'm just saying that's all in the first half hour of the first episode.
All right.
And so they're like thrown together, and she of course thinks that he's this crazy guy that's talking weird and funny and dressed funny, and he has no idea what's going on, and they have to figure out together like who is the Headless Horseman, what's going on, and they fight all of this weird stuff as magic starts to erupt inside Sleepy Hollow, and you find out that there's all kinds of wider ramifications.
Okay.
So I think there are slow episodes. It's no Breaking Bad. Let me put it that way.
Right.
Oh, is it?
No,
it's good though. It's good,
but it's good.
Fun.
I like it, and the new season looks like it's going great. And the other thing for TV for me, I was not going to watch Gotham. I'm not a Batman guy. I didn't really particularly care about Batman. And then I noticed that on Rotten Tomatoes that now is does TV and everything. It was the only new show that was in the 90s.
Yeah.
For more than, I think it's like 92% of the reviews are positive.
Because all the Batman fans are going, we gotta love this show. But it is good.
No, but that's the critics. And the I mean, I don't go by the critics. The critics are wrong half the time as far as I'm concerned. But when they like something that I am moderately intrigued by, I have to be like, oh wow. So I watched it and I thought it was awesome.
I like the two. I only have one problem with it. I'm wondering
Russ
if
has got a problem.
No, I really like it.
Is it the muskets, Russ? Did you have a problem with the muskets?
There are no muskets in Gotham.
Oh,
I have watched the first 2 episodes now. I'm all up to speed. By the time you hear this, is probably on episode 10. But let's just pretend it's back to episode 2 of Gotham. So I really liked it a lot. I really enjoyed it. I liked how gritty it was. I liked, following Commissioner Gordon around when he's a young newbie cop and all that. The only thing about it is, it's like, it feels like they're making every single Batman villain ever all tied together, right? In Bruce Wayne when he's a kid. Like, everybody knows everybody, like, from the get-go. You know what I mean? Like, Penguin knows Catwoman. They all know Bruce. They all know Commissioner Gordon, and the Riddler's right there. And it's like, boom, 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 boom. It's like, really? Do they all really know each other then? Because doesn't that kind of break? I mean, I guess once I got my head out of that and kind of said, well, it's a reboot and things are happening however you want, it worked, but it just sort of felt like they were putting people in there just to say, oh, look, there's Poison Ivy. Oh, look, there's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you feel that?
But I thought that was cool. And
right.
I know, but as always, I'm coming at it as a complete non-comic book. I don't know anything about the comic book. I don't know anything about these characters. You can tell by the way they're featured that they're going to be important, or they're, cameos of more important people. Yeah. And I like that because I don't know who they are. Oh, so just like every other comic book thing ever, I'm actually the target audience and you're not. Because if you were the target audience, then they'd already be making millions and they wouldn't need a TV show. They want to suck me in. They want to suck the millions of us who aren't comic book people in, and they did. They sucked me in.
All right, fair enough.
Sucking they did.
They did. So,
they did.
Is that all your stuff there, Craig?
And not that Romeo needs to hear this, but I finished the first short story for the anthology for Wild West Exodus, and I started the second story today. So that's kind of exciting. And Romeo, as soon as I get the edited version back, you'll get it.
Thanks, buddy.
No problem, man.
I can't wait to read it again.
Yeah.
All right, we're going along, so I'll keep my part short. First of all, I am currently listening to Dresden the White Knight. Like, I don't know.
What number is that?
I don't know, 7 or 8. I can't remember.
Okay, so there's. Yeah,
I'm still. I'm a bit
middle.
behind. Yeah, it's good though. I'm really enjoying it. Big getting near the finale now. Big battle as always. The crescendo of Dresden books is always a lot of fun. So that's a great scene. One other video game. My kids are huge Disney Infinity fans, and Disney Infinity 2 has just come out. Disney Infinity Marvel has come out. And my kids saved all the allowance, so we went out this past week and purchased the core game, the 2 of the play sets, and a couple of the figs. So they really are liking it. It is like the first one, but on steroids. It's great. The stories are better. The worlds you can build now are crazy huge. The figures look great in real life, the 3D figures, and then of course in the game they're even cool. The Guardians of the Galaxy expansion is awesome. Groot and Star-Lord and everybody work great. And
when that popped up, I was like, "Oh, I wish Reese was old enough."
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I'm having a good time playing with them. They're liking it. If you've got a choice between the newer consoles, it's on every platform. So you can get on the 360, the PS3, the PS4, the Xbox One. If you do buy it, it looks like it's going to look the same on all the platforms, and you might lean towards buying it on one of the older platforms just because for a reason. But I would recommend getting it on the One or the PS4 because in the toy box mode, where it's basically the Minecraft mode of the game, the worlds can get much, much larger. My kids are building worlds now that are like phenomenally huge, like forests populated with thousands of trees that they're putting in themselves, and then they build a giant castle at the end of it, and they can, you can unlock like all the castles from Aladdin, and you can unlock all these castles from the different Disney movies, and interlock the pieces together and make it's like Lego / Minecraft, but Disney and Marvel themed. So it's really all they got to do now is come out with Disney Infinity 3 Star Wars, and pretty much kids will never leave the house. So
it'll happen.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So that works great. As far as TV goes, we talked about Gotham and Sleepy Hollow. Also, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. this year, I think, is just is at a new level. I like it a lot.
I've heard good things.
Like where it is. Also, have you guys watched Fargo, the TV show?
No. Is it any good? I've heard good things.
It's good, but it's darker than the movie, if that's possible. Ooh. So it's pretty dark, but it's funny. It's exactly that quirky thing from the movie. And I cannot remember the actor's name, but he plays Bilbo, and he also plays Watson in Sherlock Holmes. You know what I'm talking about? Bilbo in The Hobbit, and he's Watson in Sherlock Holmes. Nobody?
Yes.
Anybody? Bueller? Okay. Chat room, a little help. Anyway, this guy, he is great.
He's a boss. He's the guy with the ears.
Yes, he's fantastic. Okay. He's really, really good. He plays sort of the dorky everyman beat up guy.
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman. Thank you, Ryan, in the chat room. Martin Freeman.
I think I beat Ryan in the chat room. I'm just saying.
All right. He's fantastic, and he does a great job, and he sort of gets, just like the movie kind of, but in a even more evil way, gets screwed into being a bad guy. And it's just great. And the bad guy is awesomely evil. And it's really good. So I would highly recommend Fargo. It is very dark, though. There are parts that are laugh out loud, hilariously funny. And then right after that, it goes to this really, really dark place that you're a parent or a father or mother, and you're like, oh, I can't even watch this, but this next scene's so great. So it's like that. If you like those kind of shows, highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So Romeo, before we let you go for Achievements in Gaming here, we review the game, I do have to ask you some patrons on Patreon had a question for you. Battlefoam question. They're really excited about Firestorm Armada 2.
Okay.
And they wanted to know if you guys were going to do any of the pre-created shapes or custom trays for 2.
Okay, so Firestorm Armada, It would really depend on us getting all the ships.
Yeah.
And like any other of our shapes that go on the custom trade creator, they all come from the models themselves. So we would have to first have those, and we won't have shapes until those are released, obviously.
Got it.
So imagine if you're collecting the game and you're just getting it, we're probably going to have it around the same time or a few days before you. Mm-hmm. And then it's a matter of putting it on the website, which only takes a day or two as far as programming and getting it going. Now, keep in mind, all shapes are available for anyone, because all you have to do is trace them yourself. So if somebody wanted something sooner or gets their hands on the models before even us, then feel free to trace them and send those in, and we will make an exact replica of that for you and get you exactly what you need for your model. So the answer to the question is we can do any shape for any game at any time as long as a person traces them. If they want to wait for us to get the models, usually it's just about a week or two after the actual models are released to the general public.
Cool. So there is a plan to do the Firestorm Armada. Yeah, cool.
They're always. I mean, it's a matter of the games nowadays come out like 3 new games every Friday come out.
Right, right.
The endless amount of stuff that we add, like we just added all of the Star Trek ships to the custom.
Tackway.
We had all the X-wing.
Yep.
And people were like, well, I'd play Star Trek too. I want that. So it took us a little while to get a hold of all of them, to get our suppliers to actually get them in and have them in stock and send them to us and do our part to them. And now they're all online and they're all ready to go. So if you guys are Star Trek fans, those are available. But big models, like the priority, this is helpful to people to know. Priority, for instance, is 40K is always first. So anything new from 40K will usually get put on the trade creator or have trades made for it within 24 hours. Fantasy is second. Again, same thing, 24 to 48 hours, and it'll be either trade up or on the trade creator, do it yourself. Secondary games, call it Infinity doesn't count because it's pretty much all boxes, but something like Rivet Wars, okay? That's usually a 3-week project. We'll go ahead and just slowly start getting everything done, put them in, and then release a kit for it. So keep that in mind. The more popular the game is, the higher chance it's going to get a shape. And then War Machine Hordes falls into 3rd and 4th there. So that's how that works.
So the chat room also wants to know that they've heard a rumor that they can send you AutoCAD files, and that works too. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can use any kind of file.
Awesome.
So we have enough equipment that's going to be able to translate or convert any type of files. The ideal thing is if you have an AutoCAD file, just do a screen grab of it. It's even easier that way. You don't even have to send the file to us. Just do a screen grab and send the JPEG to us.
Cool.
Because we'll know what you're trying to do.
If I take a picture of the screen with my phone, does that work? Or does that mess it up?
As long as we get it, you can send it save it as an image through your phone, and then just email it into info@battlefoam.com and just put it on there as I'd like to create these shapes. More than likely, the girls will probably in customer service will call you, just ask questions to confirm. But it's just questions to make sure we get everything clear and you're happy with your product.
You don't need a scanner then. You just take a picture of your phone or whatever, send it to you, boom, done. Awesome.
Yeah, that's all you need. And we'll cover this probably later or at some point, again in the show or whatever. But, we're doing the new warranty thing that's starting up here in the next month. So we're super excited because this type of situation with getting your bag and all these things that happen when your bag gets ruined is going to be taken care of. So if you take the time to build the trays exactly what you want, now the warranty is going to be able to take care of your actual bags too. So really, if you get your foam right, you're really never going to have a problem with storage again. Which
awesome.
Is cool.
That's great. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks. Well, I
Very
think that's
nice.
I think does that handle all of our achievements now?
I think that is achievements.
Woo.
The D6 generation. Not as smart as Yoda, but not as dumb as Jar Jar Binks.
Wise, the announcer is. Hello.
Oh, that is the wolf from our friends at Lone Wolf Development.
Found easily at wolflair.com.
Oh, yeah, baby. Now, of course, I have been living in Realmworks, having an absolute blast.
We have heard you talk about Realmworks for weeks now.
Oh, man, it's so much fun.
I'm super jealous.
So much fun. It's just, I love the player view. So my favorite part about, you think it, what I would love the most is the fact that it auto links all this information together. So if you got an encounter planned, you can instantly click on the word Cobalt, then it takes to your item that's called Cobalt that tells you all about your Cobalt and all your stats. And you think I would love the fact that you can custom make all the fields for your monster type creature and get exactly the right stats for your RPG in there. And you think I like the fact that it would show this cool network web of how everything in your campaign interconnects and where the characters found the sword, and it was back in that town 3 segments ago. And you would think I would love the fact that you hit the record button and it records and highlights every element of Realmworks that got exposed in that particular game session, or the fact that you can highlight. But that's not what I like. I like the simplest thing, that there is this thing called the player view. And all you do is it makes sure whatever you click on that the players know in your campaigns, you can flag whatever they've learned so far. Like the picture of a monster if they've seen one, or like the map of the town they just visited. And then the player view, if you've got 2 screens in your computer, so let's say you got your computer sitting there and you got one screen turned around facing the players and the other screen facing you. The screen facing you is all the detailed DM information. Screen facing the player says player view on it. You can say, show that picture of the kobold, and poof, right in front of your kids who've never seen a kobold before, there's now a kobold. They go, oh, that's a creepy looking creature, I want to kill it. So, it's just awesome. And you can show the map. Not only that, you can show the map, but you can also shade in the parts of the map the players can see. So I can literally color with my mouse cursor on top of the map and then expose as the party goes deeper into the dungeon. They'll see the room unfold right on the map in front of them. Just a really engaging way to play. Great way to role play. Great way to keep all my information together. I can instantly get back up to speed on where we are in the campaign. I cannot say enough good things about Realmworks. Such a good piece of software, as is all their great products.
Like Army Builder, I mean, that's my go-to and the one that I've been doing a lot of lately with all of my pre-heresy army. But of course, the War Machine and Hordes data files were just updated by listener Santiago.
Yeah, one of our listeners is an Army Builder file guy. That's awesome.
That's right. So all of those War Machine and Hordes things have been updated. So go ahead and check those. I mean, seriously, I have been extolling the virtues of Army Builder long before we ever knew anybody at the company, long before we had a podcast. Mm-hmm. It became my go-to thing, and it really does, like every other piece of technology they've created, it takes what used to be an onerous task, an element of the game that really wasn't that much fun, and it makes it a fun game in and of itself, and something that really adds to the whole experience. So really, Wolf Lair just knocks it out of the park time after time, and of course, you know, Russ can go on forever, and I can listen to him forever talking about Realmworks. So
you should really GM a game, Craig. That would help you out.
I try to figure out Realmworks, and my brain would explode, but it would be awesome to try.
And now, what's in the news? With the shout-out, thanks to everyone who helped support Extra Life. Raised over $4 million and still going. Don't forget, you can still donate to Extra Life right now. Head on over to your favorite participants page and give generously. Special thanks to all those who made it possible for both Craig and Russ to achieve their goals. And now, the news. Not a lot of news today. Wakeland has another app for the Ep he wants to review. Oh, yeah, baby. So we'll just jump in with a couple quick things. Extra Life was another unqualified success. Great amount of participants, and as I said at the top of the hour there, over I think it's $5 million raised, which is fantastic. Go gamers, go! You know, in spite of all the debates in the gamer community, it's still great to see that the core, the essence of what the gamer community is all about giving back. And Extra Life is certainly a great sign that gamers love to help those in need. In other news, let's see. Well, first of all, a remake of a classic game, one of Wakeland's favorites. It's not even a remake, it's just available again. That's right, baby, X-Wing. The original X-Wing versus TIE Fighter game is coming back to good old games, GOG. Check it out. They're going to just redo the DOS version and make it playable on your favorite PC. So check that out. If you're a loved flight sims, X-Wing is a classic. Let's see, in other news, well, let's just go right to the app of the Ep, Wakeland. It's a slow news week, so let's get it out there. Thanks, here I come. All right, well, I wanted to talk about a couple big video game news, a lot of exciting games coming out. I think I talked about Shadow of Mordor last time. Of course, Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth just came out last week. I've been playing that like crazy. Really, really great game. You know, it's a great imitation of Civ. It is really Civ in space, but enough other stuff going on there that makes it a lot of fun, even though the core mechanics are essentially the same. I love the fact there's little alien species that attack you've got to deal with, and you can build electronic fences and stuff. It's just good stuff. But the other thing we should probably mention is Sunset Overdrive just hit the streets right now. A lot of great games coming out. A lot of games are just fantastic. Folks over on the Wii U, you got Bayonetta. It's just good stuff. But here's a game that's probably under your radar, and I really want to recommend. I know it's going to sound crazy, but Disney's Fantasia, the Kinect game for Xbox One, is really, really good. Now, it does have a good pedigree. I mean, it's got two great houses coming together. First of all, you got Disney, which, their video games have been hit or miss, but lately they've been doing okay with Disney Infinity and stuff, and they've got a great back catalog of music and, of course, movies and just great content. You pair that with Harmonix. Now, those of you who are into rhythm games know that Harmonix is the guy, especially the last decade, mid-2000s. I mean, these are the guys that made Rock Band. These are the guys that did Dance Central. Just great stuff. And they've come out with this thing, Fantasia, which is really a motion game, and it's a rhythm game. But the way they do it, it just so quickly you're involved in the music, you're fully immersed in the music, and you don't feel like you're trying to dance, so you don't feel like you look like an idiot up there. Although I do love Dance Central, but I do know that I look like an idiot when I'm doing it. You feel like, if anything, you're conducting an orchestra. It's really all about hand movements, and you're moving your hands in certain ways, just meeting certain goals on the screen. Sometimes you have to swoosh up to the left or down to the right. Sometimes you got to punch in like you're hitting a drum. Sometimes you have to swing and hold, and as you do so, your silhouette sort of like, your hands sparkle. It just feels, and it's hard to describe it. There's really no way to describe it. It's not like any other rhythm game you ever played before. And what you do and how you do it impacts the music, so you can change and remix it. They, of course, have all the classics, literally classical music that you get from, you saw a lot in the Fantasia movies. But now you've also got mixed in with more modern versions from various decades. So you might have Rocket Man from Elton John up against Royals, or from lately, or whatever other music there is there. And it's just really, really good, really engaging, a really great game. I can't speak highly enough. It is probably, it's definitely the killer app Kinect game. If you like any dancing games at all and you were into Dance Central, definitely check this out. If you're into music, also worth a check out. Not going to be for everyone, not a gamery game, more of a relaxing game, great for the kids, great for the whole family. And that is, of course, Disney's Fantasia. That it, Wakeland?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, and that's what's in the news. Hey, welcome back, and now it's time to talk about our friend Terrace and his amazing touring company, Geek Nation Tours.
Geek Nation Tours.
Ooh, a new announcer
noise.
And
of course, yes, you like that? That was just spontaneous, spur of the moment. Much like all these trips that you can take with Terrace.
Yeah.
And of course, the big one coming up, which is one that we've been involved with a lot over the years, although not officially, is the big Adepticon trip, which is one of the biggest that the Terrace runs. Every year, he brings a big group of guys from all over the world to Chicago for Adepticon. And of course, everybody's scrambling now because Adepticon has moved to a new venue. It's in this huge new convention center, and hotel space is starting to get limited. Well, you know who's got hotel space?
That's right. And let's say you're worried.
Geek Nation Tours.
Well, it's moving. Where are we going to go for lunch? Where are we going to go? Don't worry about that. If you go on a Geek Nation tour, Terrace is going to hook you up with some of the best places to eat, local cuisine, get the best food. You're going to get, like, if you're going to Chicago and Adepticon, you're going to get the best Chicago deep dish pizza. If you're going to Japan, I was watching his tweets from his recent Japan tour.
Oh, I know.
Oh, man, was I jealous. I mean, they're doing all kinds of stuff. And then he's like, his tour guys are having such a good time, they're buying him giant anime models. I mean,
wow.
Seriously, because they thank you for the amazing.
You mean his tour goers?
His tour goers, yeah, his participants are buying Terrace these nice, because they were so blown away by the tour. So it's just, you don't get that unless you can do a really, really great set of service and delivery. And that's the thing. Yeah. The tour feels spontaneous, but Terrace plans these things out to the last detail. So you can just kick back, relax, and have a blast and not worry about the details.
All kinds of great stuff, especially going back to the Adepticon one that's still on the table. They're going to have a Meet the Podcasters night, so you can get into the industry. They're going to have a pro painter night, a session for just the Geek Nation Tours people with a professional painter and how to paint. Just all kinds of stuff. He's filling that whole 4 days of gaming with all kinds of great gamer goodness.
Exactly right. Don't forget to ask Terrace, too, about Gen Con 2015. If you missed it last year, next year's the year.
That's right.
That's all happening.
And of course, who are we talking about? Geek Nation Tours.com.
In a world where board gaming was king, in a time when Kickstarter ruled the web, when every day brought more and more games, now more than ever, two men and a revolving third chair and a girl, a total fangirl, brought a shining light into the darkness so that all mankind would know what to buy. They are the D6 generation.
Hey, and welcome back. And, we have Romeo, of course, on the show with us here. And as you know from Achievements, we're very excited to have Romeo back. But, Romeo, we haven't talked to you about the history of Battlefoam since the very, very first time you were on the show. And It was kind of a short history then. I think you started up with us really in the early days of Battlefoam, right? Like, had you guys even been around a full year when we started?
That sounds right. It was very early.
Really early. And so now it's like, I don't know, 6 years later, and internationally known master of the bags and foam.
The foamy overlord.
In fact, I know you didn't even have bags when you first came on the show because you were just foam. And I remember you said to us off the air, you're like, okay, guys, don't tell anyone, but I'm also making bags.
It was very early on, yes.
It was.
And a lot of those I was just spitballing. Let's just put it that way.
Right. So let's go back to the beginning. And so, for those who didn't listen to the first episode you were on, or even those who maybe did, but it's been a long time, what was sort of the impetus for Battlefoam? What got you started?
Well, before we get started, did you guys hear that click sound that just happened?
No.
What was that click sound?
That was everybody turning off the podcast.
No. They are desperate to know how the international phenomenon of Battlefoam began. They are.
All right.
Really. Trust me. All three of them.
All right. So, all seven. Okay. Let's go back to the beginning. I mean, this is going to take us way back. This is the way back machine. This is like 2009. You know how ancient this is? This is so ancient that GW actually was doing tournaments.
Right.
That's how old.
Yep.
They had.
We're talking all the way back in episode 23 for those of you who are listening.
Yes, very early.
And Romeo's exactly correct. January 2009 was when he first joined us.
Yes.
Yeah. That's like a bazillion years ago.
It is a bazillion years.
Bazillion and a half.
Almost another whole decade.
I'll be honest with you. I compare starting and running Battlefoam like the president's United States. And here's what I mean. By no means the responsibility, but what I mean is, if you look at President Barack Obama, okay, when he came in the office, he was a handsome devil, right? He had that nice complexion.
Yeah, right.
He, the nice dark hair, handsome guy, well-spoken.
Right.
I just watched something on CNN today for the poor guy. He looks like Morgan Freeman. Like from today, Morgan Freeman. Like he came in Morgan Freeman, Shawshank Redemption.
Right.
And he is going out Morgan Freeman like in the grave. So that's like,
wow, I don't think Morgan Freeman's dead yet. Just saying.
No, not yet, but poor guy.
Okay.
Showing some
Morgan Freeman. What was her name? What's the movie this summer that he was in? That the girl's name.
Yeah,
Lucy. There you go.
Morgan Freeman. He was old in that. Yeah, right.
Aged.
Yeah.
Aged. Yeah. That's what I am.
Yeah. It does it to all of them too, doesn't it?
It does. So you're saying you're aging as fast as a U.S. president would in this situation?
More so by the terror that is working in the miniature wargaming world.
The terror.
The terrorist. No. All right, let's get back on track. So it's it was 2009. It was January, and the reason why I remember it was Jamie and I were at home, and I had come up with this kooky idea around October, November. If I remember right, I think GW did their event in October at Treasure Island,
right?
Resort, so casino in Vegas. So I went to that thing as a gamer, straight up gamer. Had my Imperial Guard army, wanted to win some battles, take home the big prize. And this is how ancient this was. There were guys that were working there at GW that literally not only have started their own miniature businesses, but I don't want to name names because they'll only get in trouble probably, who knows. But like most of the staff that was running that event all have their own miniature business or painting blog or like it's like
whole miniature empires have grown in this time period.
Exactly. It's like the breakup of the old Soviet Union.
It's like Arma Bell, AT&T shattering.
There you go. So, but it was ancient. So anyway, I went to this event. It was a typical gamer event. Wanted to win some prizes and some notoriety and have a good time with my minis, and had painted up all my guys and had my Congo line. This had to be Imperial Guard 3 codexes ago, where you could run the Congo line of Imperial Guard troops and do that 50 man across the board. I don't know if you guys remember this, but you had it was kind of like Schaefer's Last Chancers, but I would run a line of troops that would just march across the battlefield with one guy that was fearless,
right?
And you would just take wounds. He would basically have 51 wounds. Or actually 53 because I think he came with 3. So you'd have 53 wounds, and you can take them from anywhere in the platoon. And I would just take them off the border edge. So these guys would it was stupid. It was very rude. And nobody liked me.
And as long as they didn't run into one lictor, you were fine.
It was a good start. I don't think the lictors existed. I don't know.
Oh, fair enough.
But the thing was, I went to that event and had a good time, played my games, whatever. But to get there, I had the problem, like everybody else, is I really didn't have a transportation case. At the time, I think the only guys doing bags were Sable Designs, probably Games Workshop. I feel like I remember seeing their cases.
Oh, they had the plastic ones forever. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so more than likely, yeah. And I didn't even know about Sable, and I didn't have a GW store near me, so the independent retailer that I bought all my minis from didn't sell cases of any kind. And I had asked him, I said, man, what do I do for cases? And he was kind of baffled at the question. He's like, well, what do you mean? Shoebox doesn't help you? Like, what's your problem? And I thought, well, that's kind of moronic. Why would I carry this stuff in like Tupperware? I want to protect it. And he kind of gave me this kind of you're a moron face. And now he's out of business. I'm just saying, but either here or there.
And you run a multi-million-dollar bag empire. So there you go.
I would say he went out of business with the smirky face. So he kind of gave me that look, and I thought, well, that's kind of silly. There's got to be a way to do it. And my first rendition of a case for myself was a tackle box. I went to the sporting goods store. I was like, wow, I could put tackle, in this tackle box. And what I try to do is get like the biggest, most ridiculous tackle box there was. And
right.
I think I paid like $90 for this thing.
I used to do that too. Big tackle boxes were the way to go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I just dumped out all the garbage that's in there, like fly catchers, whatever
you don't
tackle people have. And I just put in those these little like almost egg crate things.
Yes,
these little
egg crate.
Yeah. That's what I used.
Michael's.
Yeah, Michael's.
Oh,
yeah, craft stores were your friend. Or you can go buy the big foam, like they have the foam blocks for sewing, and you get those and carve them up and then try to fit them into your case, right?
Okay, come on, you're creating competition. Anyway.
Didn't work as well as Battlefoam, though. There's all kinds of problems that I'll tell you later.
So I made that, and I was like, okay, wow, this looks effing terrible if I got to fly there, and I was going to fly. And I looked at it, and I'm like, God damn, people are going to think I'm either like a maniac fisherman or I'm a killer, and I have like knives in here.
Right.
So it didn't make sense. It didn't fit in overhead. It was too bulky, too stupid. And I decided, forget it, I'm not taking this with me. So I got to come up with something. And I just did some research on the internet. This was like when the internet was not very good. So that's how long ago this is. So I did some research on the internet, and I found Sable. Yeah. And I thought, wow, this is a cool bag. This will work. So I ordered the bag, and it came with pluck foam, like all of them do. Mm-hmm. And I got it, and I thought, boy, this is – I ripped it all up, like everybody else, plucked it all out. And this is about a month, 3 weeks or so before the show, before the event. So I'm looking at it, and I'm plucking it all out, and I can't even fit half my army because, mind you, I had this conscript platoon, all this BS, and I have a ton of models. I probably had 110 guardsmen in my list. And I just ran out of space. And I thought, golly, this is annoying, So I'm looking at this egg grade foam. I'm looking at this foam. And I just plucked and picked and pulled out, and nothing really seemed to make sense. So I thought, okay, well, what if I try to cut this on this laser machine that I have here just sitting at work? So, of course, like any retardedly stupid person would do, I stuck a petroleum-based foam product inside fire.
Yes.
And instantly it ignited.
Things did not go well?
No, instantly it was in flames. And I thought, well, that was really stupid. But luckily it was just like a tiny piece of because I tried on this little piece.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that was really stupid. So, I tuned my machine a little bit, did a little this, a little that. Next thing I cut another piece out, and that worked. And I thought, oh, this is something. But by this point I had cut through all of my egg crate foam. Mm-hmm. So I had nothing left. So I thought, okay, what do I do here? Why don't I go and see if I can buy some more foam at Michael's? So I went and bought this awful yellow mattress foam stuff.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. It just looks terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets yellower with time
it's
somehow. Yeah, it's weird.
Shit. So I went and picked this stuff up and I put it in there. And of course, it caught on fire instantly because it's a totally different formula. But this is a larger piece. So like it almost blew up my machine. I'm like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. I'm doing this for like a stupid tournament, in Vegas. So I abandoned the whole project. So that was how close I was. Mind you, I was making baseball bats for Major League Baseball at the time.
Right.
So there was absolutely no reason to make foam products.
And that's what your laser cutter was for, right? You were cutting the actual wooden bats, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I was engraving their signatures,
the
like
signatures,
the pro player
right,
signatures in them, right?
Yep.
Because they all like that fancy stuff. So I thought, okay, well, that was really stupid. I almost blew up my machine. I'm going to bankrupt my other business. This is stupid. That's like a $60,000 laser I was messing around with here.
Right.
And I went home and I told Jamie, I said, Jamie, yeah, man, I was trying to cut this foam stuff and I almost blew up the machine. She's like, well, you're a moron. You do that again. You could take that. You take that laser to the divorce office and file papers. So I was like, okay, well, I probably won't do that again. So a couple
probably
days go
won't
by,
do it again.
So it's like a week before the show, right? And I thought to myself, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to fly. I'm just going to cancel my plane tickets, and I'm just going to. It was like Southwest, like $150 round trip. And I'm just going to cancel my plane tickets. I'm just going to drive up there because I could take my tackle box with me. And I called Southwest. Here's, again, angels from the sky. That's why I still fly Southwest. They saved my life. Southwest's like, no, you can't refund your tickets. Screw you. You lose $150. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what do you mean I lose $150? I want to change these tickets out. They're like, no way. Not happening. You're out of time. You didn't pick the refundable. You took the super cheap fare, which is non-refundable. Can't help you. If you want to change your flight, it's going to be $75. I said, the tickets are $150. Why would I pay $75 to change it? It's stupid. She goes, well, then you're stuck with them. So I thought, okay, well, this is pretty much telling me I have to fly. There goes the tackle box idea. I have no stable foam because I ripped it all apart and I ran out of space. So again, I thought, all right, let me go find some gray foam. That's the answer because I was able to cut it before the egg crate stuff, but I ran out testing. Mm-hmm. I'm going back out there. I'm going back. I'm getting on my horse. And I went to the supply hardware junk place, and they had it. A version of what, early on stuff we used. So I pull it out. I take it home, get a bunch of cuts, cut through no problem. Boom. I'm like, all right, this is cool. Let's mess around. So I cut bigger shapes, and I start messing around with this and that. And within 3 days before this show happened for I had to leave, I managed to figure it out. It just miraculously figured out. Got these things perfect, got them to fit. I was even able to start putting names onto the foam. I really got excited. Let me put it this way. I didn't do anything else at work but screw around with this to really trick out my Army, And I went to the show, man, with my Army transport bag and a bunch of trays, in there that were all custom. Yep. And I remember being in the elevator. So I go to show. I get my ass kicked a bunch of times. I do good, whatever. I won 2, lost 3. I don't even know what it was. But I didn't place anywhere. So I'm going up to my room after the first day, which is, I think, 3 games on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And 2 on Sundays, I think, the format. But anyway, I'm going up on Saturday night. And there's a bunch of drunk gamers in the elevator, right, that had either finished early or whatever. And it's packed. I mean, it's elbows and buttholes, in the elevator. And it's all gamers. So you know what I mean. Everybody, there's no personal space. So I'm in this elevator. I was one of the last people in, so I'm kind of by the door. And and this is kind of a funny story. And I don't think I ever described this as vividly, but I'm sitting in the elevator. I'm by the door. And there's another guy next to me to my right, and I have all my foam stacked up, and I didn't bring my bag down because it was just kind of whatever. I didn't bring it down. So I had all my foam stacked because it was easy to carry, and it was on one of those trays, those TV trays. Mm-hmm. You guys know all right?
Yeah, I remember them.
Yeah. So I got this thing, and I'm sitting in the elevator, and the guy next to me goes, man, because it said, Imperial Guard on the bottom of the tray.
On the foam, right on the tray.
On the foam.
Oh, well, of course.
So 40K Imperial Guard, right? So it was really cool. And all my guys were set up, and then I even had a command squad written on some of them and all this other stuff. So the guy looks over and goes, man, that's awesome. What is that? Where'd you get that done? I go, oh, I just do this at work, man. He goes, oh my God, what do you do? So I'm chatting this guy up, and I don't know, Treasure Island was 400 floors in that building. So I'm going up this elevator because I think this thing was in the basement, this event where we belonged, obviously, to all the game trolls, they put us in the basement. But anyway, so we're going up this elevator, and it was funny because it was like Noah parting the Red Sea, as this guy's talking to me, and people are kind of looking over my shoulder. No. They opened up this pit between everybody so I could start scooching back, and people could surround the excitement, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I go from being right by the door to kind of slowly trickling back. And people are like, show the trays. And I'm like moving them around. I'm trying not to drop things. And the guy's like, oh, I'll hold them. And next thing you know, like people are all jacked up. Like, dude, I got to get your number. I got to get your card. You have to start a business. This is awesome. I wish I remember those people's names and met them because I would give a high five and some free stuff.
Give them a free tray.
If you're in that
prepare to get a whole bunch of emails. Half of them are going to be about Noah parting the Red Sea, and the other half are going to be telling you that they were the guy in the elevator.
Back in 2009, before the internet, I was in the elevator with you, man.
That's right, man.
47 emails later, I'll know somebody's lying.
Right.
Or not 47, you're in there, bastard. Anyway,
the limit was 50 people.
Yeah,
the elevator was not that big.
It was not that big. You guys were. It was not. Anyway, so I'm backing up, and everybody's excited. So long story short in there is I got the obvious notion that people were excited about this idea. And so I went back and I thought, because I asked a couple guys later, because those other guys, when I played someone, they asked me, hey, that's really cool. What'd you do? How'd you make that? That's cool. Give me your info, or if you have a number or whatever, I'll call you. I'm kind of interested, whatever. So I went back and I thought, well, let me throw up a Blogspot thing. Not a blog. No, what was it? Not a Blogspot. What's that stupid easy website you can make? Like a super fast website.
WordPress?
WordPress. There it is. Yeah. So it's a WordPress website. I was like, I'll slap this together like in 15 minutes. So I slapped this horrible website together. I have at the time, I think, 15 trade designs because that's all I was able to cut in the following week when I got back from the show. Plus I had my IG stuff. So literally my surplus of inventory was Imperial Guard trays, some more Imperial Guard trays, a few more Imperial Guard trays, and then one Space Marine tray, which was really an Imperial Guard tray, but the holes were bigger, and a tray that fit a Land Raider in it. So that was like my surplus of available product choices.
Right.
So I'm like,
start somewhere.
I was like, man, I got to just put this out on the market. This is going to sell like hotcakes. There's like 10 things to pick from.
Right.
And I went on DACA, God bless DACA and John Regal over there, because I put a post up there in News and Rumors or General Discussion somewhere. And I put on there, hey guys, don't know if you're interested. Got this foam thing I'm doing. Picked up these trays, from a local store. Cut them out, or these foam tray things, and I cut them out. And I make these. If anybody's interested, take a look. And this is like literally New Year's night because our plans fell through with our friends. My wife was all sourpuss in the living room because we weren't going out drinking. We put in a movie, and I had created the site a couple days prior, I feel like, or a week prior, or whatever it was. And long story short, she's like, are you going to really put this up? You've been screwing around with this website for whatever amount of time, and it's not going to go anywhere. I'm like, all right, well, I'm just put it up. Whatever, who cares? So I put it up, and literally we had a little ticker at the bottom of the homepage of the Battlefoam website. And it went from like 17 clicks, which were me checking the site over and over, to like 1,700 hits in an hour.
Wow.
Insane.
Right.
Insane. And I'm bouncing literally between that and answering questions on DACA.
Right.
So it's like, hey, can you make trays for this? Because I had a button on there on the WordPress that said, we can make any custom tray. Just click this in, or email us and we'll make your tray.
All of a sudden you get emails.
Mm-hmm. There, and this is kind of funny because I remember what day of the week the New Year's fell on, but I mean, obviously everybody had off.
Right.
I remember waking up the next morning, so this is maybe 10 hours later, whatever. There were over 200 emails in my inbox.
Wow.
That were like, hey, can you do a Land Raider? Hey, can you do a Land Raider and a Rhino? Hey, can you do a Land Raider with the Rhino with the Land Raider inside the Rhino? And it was like, yeah, I guess. Yeah, sure. And at one point, they were coming in faster than I can answer them during that day. So I was literally just replying, yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. I don't even know what some of the questions were. I just didn't want to tell people, sorry, I can't reply, or just blow them off. And it was seriously a one-man operation, one piece of equipment with absolutely no raw product. I had nothing. I had no foam. I had no foam source. I had no way to glue bottoms on. I had actually used Elmer's glue to glue my trays together, which is obviously not what we use today. I used a mat that you buy at Dick's Sporting Goods to yoga on for the bottoms. Okay, so that foam.
I got to go look at my Uncharted Seas trays now, because those are one of the first trays you produced. I bet those have those yogurt mats on them.
Probably. So, it was just insane how archaic it was compared to where we're at today. And the moral of the story is it went from a few people emailing to a few people ordering to, it was like 10 orders the first week to 100 orders the second week to like 350 orders the week after. And it was just exponentially ridiculous. It wasn't even so much like a small jump, a few orders here. Because people would get the trays, right?
Yeah.
You would go to their local store.
And then it'd be like, where'd you get those? Right.
And they would be like, why am I using plug foam? This is stupid. And they'd throw it out.
Right.
And they'd call me up, and we had good prices, I felt like. And I guess we still kind of do because people are still buying stuff. And it just kind of trickled down the chain. And it grew so quickly. I was literally trying to hire people and build at the same time. So there was a moment in the first 4 months we were in business where JAMA, we didn't even have a packing shipping account with anybody because we only sold bats. We didn't sell that many bats. I think we sold maybe 2,000 bats a year to Major League Baseball. And out of those 2,000 bats we sold, a lot of them were either brought to spring training for the players directly, or they were shipped in those triangle boxes you get at, for free from the post office.
Right.
So we didn't really have a carrier because we didn't move volume the way we do today. Right.
Right.
So I remember we had no packaging materials, and we had this large batch of orders that had to come out at the same time. And we were trying to group them all together to save a little bit when we took them to the UPS store. And we didn't have the packing supplies. So we said, what can we wrap these in? They need something you can't see through. So we took garbage bags I had at work, black garbage bags. Okay. And we wrapped these foam cubes in black garbage bags. Okay, multiple layers. We had the thick garbage bags, for industrial work, like for wood.
Yeah.
Right.
So we send these out. There's probably 10, 15 packages go out. They all get returned, missing 4 of them. And the UPS store called me up. They said, hey, man, we got all these back here at the store. If you want them, you can come get them. And I'm like, why are they all back? This sucks. And he goes, well, they're not all back. You're missing 4. The security division already confiscated those because they think these look like drugs.
Oh, jeez.
So they literally looked like we were packaging large bundles of either cocaine or heroin or seriously, marijuana.
That's hilarious.
Perfect cubes of marijuana in black. It was so terrible. I wish I had pictures of that crap. So we're like, oh crap, we probably can't do that. He goes, yeah, who told you could do this and why did they accept this one? I'm like, I don't know, man. So we obviously got an account, right? With UPS, and next
boxes.
thing you know, real boxes and everything, and we started shipping stuff out, and we started hiring from within, meaning my friends. Yeah. So that was a blast. Let me tell you how many friends I used to have that I don't today because they thought it was oh, sweet, I'm getting to work at the Ritz Caribbean and hang out all day. And it's no, dude, we actually have to do work here. There's stuff to be done. Oh, I wasn't coming here for that, So it was a lot of topsy-turvy the first year of just kind of getting our feet under us. And at the same time, I'm putting out propaganda videos weekly, idiotic ones, ones that to this day, I still regret, kind of taking a little bit of a punch at our competition, which was very immature of me, and I regret. But at the same time, those are kind of the learning curve that made us, I feel the professional company we are today.
Yeah.
And, we learned a lot in literally those first 12 months. And the bags thing just came out of necessity because we kind of felt we want to expand the size of the carriage system because we want to give a customer a little more bang for their buck. Yep. So for us, it was either make the foam trays cheaper, which it was really as cheap as we could make them considering the manpower we had in the overhead.
Right.
But we didn't get enough out of the space. So we didn't really feel like we were doing any service to the community. We were just an alternative. And we thought, well, we got to rethink the whole wheel here. We got to do something different. And that's how we got into the bag making thing. So I literally sat down with a pen and paper and just decided, I'm just going to draw up some ideas that I like. What would my bag ideal, tackle box have in it?
Right.
Well, it would have a pocket here and a thing there and this, that, blah, blah, blah. And I just drew the whole thing out and came up with these first 3 bags. It was the Pack 216, the 432, and the 1520.
Right.
And it was a small, medium, and a large bag. And those were the first 3 bags we did. And I actually, the naming of the way our PAX system is named, it stands for Personal Army Combat Kit.
Right.
That came from DACA members.
It was a contest, right? You guys ran.
It was a contest.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Very cool of them to help us out early on. And this was very early. In the first 6, 7, 8 months of business, we put this up and, a guy won. And there were so many great ideas. I mean, some of them were, call it the apocalypse. And it's like, whoa, okay. And then there was just really crazy ideas. But then there was some really, really good ones too. And it was tough for us to come up with the pack system and the number as the amount it carried. But it ended up sticking. And it was a really good way to do it because the community really kind of contributed to that.
That's cool.
And pushed it along. And
here it is to this day.
Yeah.
It's still putting out pack bags, just changing the numbers based on the quantity of fits. So,
yeah. How did the, because I don't think we ever really talked about this. And I'm always curious how you did this because it seems like it would have been a big challenge, but I'm impressed by your licensing deals. I mean, you've got some amazing deals with so many great companies. And how did that, when did you realize you were big enough to try that? Or was it more of did they call you or how did you get that going?
It was honestly a complete and total luck. And what I mean by complete and total luck, I actually was approached by the owner, John, from Gale Force 9. Okay. He called me up and as a friend, by the way, he is one of the nicest human beings on this planet. He's also a super creative guy. Yeah. He's done like Firefly, Spartacus, a bunch of other great games and still runs the whole Gale Force 9 division. Right. So I give kudos to him because he is one of those guys, man, when you meet him, he's like the most genuine dude. If you're a butthole, he's going to tell you. and you're either going to like it or you're going to never talk to him again. Right. Either way, you're getting an honest guy, which is so rare in this world. And he calls me up out of the blue. I'm just sitting at my desk doing my thing. I've been in business 7, 8, 9 months. We already had bags out, right? So it's been a little while. And he calls me up. He goes, "Hey, Romeo, this is John from GF9 or at the time Gale Force 9 or whatever." And he goes, "So I see you're cutting stuff with lasers." I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, "So let's have a chat." And I'm like, "Who are you?" He goes, "Oh, I'm this guy." And he tells me his story, tells me what he does, tells me how, all the stuff he's doing. He's cutting these templates and all these cool
he
things.
Did the tokens for Privateer at the time, right? I think they did that.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah. He did Privateer. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he did Flames of War at the time.
He did, yeah.
And a bunch of other like random, 40K stuff too. So he was definitely successful even at the time.
Oh yeah. They were big even mid 2000s.
Yeah.
And he goes to me, he goes, "I know you're using the same equipment. I can tell by the way you're cutting your stuff." And I had also mentioned in a couple of videos of the stuff we were doing. Yeah. And he goes, "I got to ask you honestly, are you planning on cutting acrylic with your lasers?" I go, "No, not really, man. I have no interest in that. That's not my department. That's not my division. That's not my thing." He goes, "I would really appreciate you didn't do that because then I would really be forced to either sue you, kill you, or cut foam trays." And I'm like, "Well, I definitely don't want you to kill me. I definitely don't want you to sue me. And I definitely don't want to deal with a competitor when I'm not even like a real person yet in this industry." And he goes, "Okay, gentleman's agreement today." I'm like, "Okay, I'm in. What is it?" He goes, "You don't cut acrylic. I don't cut foam." I go, "That's easy. Done and done." And we literally did a gentleman's verbal handshake over the phone to never compete against each other and to respect each other's space. And it was probably the luckiest and best decision I ever made for 2 reasons. One, I respect him for approaching me the way he did because that is so rare today in business. Mm-hmm. People just steal people's ideas and say, "Oh, I'll tough deal with it. See me in court," Right. So I really appreciated that aspect of it. But more than anything else, he scared me. And no, I'm just kidding. He scares you in person. I hadn't seen him yet, but I did. Like,
he's a big guy. I've seen him.
He is a very big guy.
He demoed Firefly for us. He's a very large dude.
Yeah, and but no, it was just his approach was so professional in kind of what he said and the genuine vibe he gave off. I thought, there's no way I want to cause this gentleman any grief in his life. He's too good of a person. Mm. So I literally just said, "You know what? I am 100% with you. I'm never going to do that." And to this day, we still haven't. Like we've been asked to cut templates for everything. And I mean, you've seen all kinds of people spark up, there's token makers in every nook and cranny of the industry.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Whatever. And never us, even though we have probably more machines than all of them. I'd say we have less machines than Gale Force 9 because they have a full production line.
Right.
But I know for a fact we have more laser machines than pretty much anybody in our industry put together. Right. So at that point, when you look at that, it's like, we can easily go into that, but I will never do it for that reason.
That's awesome.
There's just no reason to. And so here's my point. How did we get into licensing? John eventually met John Paul, who owns Battlefront.
Right.
John Paul said, hey, who are these guys? I like what they're doing. What's the story here? He says, hey, he's actually a good dude. I'm guessing I'm kind of speaking for him here, but whatever he said, he put a good word in for John. So John contacted me, John Paul, and said, hey, we got these Flames of War guys. We'd love to do a bag. Can you guys do that? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Right.
Absolutely. So together we worked with their team, our team. We came up with the first design, the bag, the foam and everything, and launched the Army Ditty bag, I think they called it, the Army kit bag. Mm-hmm. And it went off gangbusters. And thousands of these stupid things flew off the shelves. I mean, thousands. And, every which way but loose. I mean, we were sending them to New Zealand. We were sending them to Alaska. We were sending them to, Africa. There was a guy in Africa. We're like, who the hell's Africa? You know what I mean? Like, Ebola is the only thing coming out of Africa nowadays.
Hey,
I'm just saying, that place is scary right now. I'm like, get out of there. But we were sending stuff all over the world. It was crazy. And we couldn't believe it, how fast these things were moving out, which was great. And as soon as these got out, I think several folks at Privateer noticed them. So Privateer made contact with us within, I'd say, 4 months of the Battlefront stuff going out on the market. And they said, hey, we like this. We're considering doing a bag. We really don't know much about it. We, would love to hear a pitch. Would you be willing to throw a pitch at us of cost of how we would do a licensing and all that? And I got on a plane a week later, flew up to Seattle and met with, all the guys, Matt and Brent and Ed and all the guys that, Will and everybody that runs their department and did at the time. And I sat in this little table. I remember, I felt like a little person, but it was a large table with all of these like bigwig gamer guys and, industry figureheads, right? And they're like, okay, go. And I'm like, well, so it's like, make your pitch. I mean, it was like the most like, holy crap, I'm on the stage here with absolutely no prep time kind of thing. But it worked out well. And obviously Matt and I saw eye to eye on the vision of growing the brand for them via Bagline. We were able to do the quality they expected and obviously the designs that they wanted to see. And from there, the rest really kind of fell into place by simple conversations. Like I would see somebody, an owner like Ronnie from Mantic. I would see him at a trade show and say, hey, Ronnie, you guys are growing really quick. What are you guys doing for bags? Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about that. You guys want to do a bag? Sure, let's do a bag. Boom. 2 weeks later, the attorney writes up the contract. It's done, signed, and we're doing bags. And that's how we really have been picking up everybody over the course of the last whatever amount of years.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So, Romeo, how big are you guys now? You mentioned you were like a one-man shop before. I mean, you got an international. You got a place in England too, right now. So
Well, we opened the UK facility about almost 2.5 years ago, and the main reason we did that was obviously facilitating. At the time was Wayland Games. They needed somebody to get the stuff to them for cheaper, and we wanted to bring it over to them. And we thought, hey, you know what? Let's do this. Let's partner up and do this together. And we decided, well, what's a better way than just to have our own facility and manufacture it right next door to you guys? Well, Wayland ended up growing really fast also, and then they moved away. Because we used to be in the same complex together, like the same industrial complex. And they moved away and got their own building and have this like awesome place now. And it kind of didn't make any sense to kind of just go through them. So we decided together, just, Wayland Games and us, we decided, well, why don't you guys just sell your own stuff through us and then we'll just sell your stuff in our stores if we need to. And we'll go that way because you don't need us to distribute anymore.
Right.
And we opened that facility 2.5, 3 years ago and it's been going gangbusters. I mean, literally it helps us because it takes care of so many European countries quickly, which is huge because the big problem in Europe, and I don't know if people, some people just never been there so they don't know, but the game stores are beyond limited in space. I mean, there's none of these battle bunker kind of facilities with like 14, 15, 20 tables on it. It doesn't exist.
Right.
If a store has a table, like a 4x4 table, they're considered like a gaming hub.
Right.
They're really tiny. I mean, you have Warhammer World, which is obviously not in the same realm, but even the Games Workshop stores there are very small. They're, 1-2 tables tops. So at least the ones I've been to. So, I mean, I might be speaking out of turn, but the ones and the places, and I've been through a lot of countries in Europe, they don't have a lot of room. So for them, they need to be able to restock quickly because they can't carry lots of stock. So, where a store here in, America, California, for instance, will have like 10 of each bag in a back room. There they have one of each bag or maybe one of 3 bags, kind of thing.
Right.
So we built the UK facility to take care of them, and we have full service and full manufacturing capabilities, and it's gone well, and it's grown every year, which is so exciting because we were scared it wouldn't, being that we're a U.S. product technically. Right. But, we use European, UK employees. We are a UK business there as a limited company. We're like an actual Battlefoam UK is an actual business in the UK. It's not like a satellite business. The employees are all citizens kind of thing. So we really wanted to keep it original, authentic, and everything's manufactured there, that they sell. So it makes it really cool because it keeps the jobs in their country for the people that service it, which is neat.
That's awesome. So what's your total? Because this is really, I know we made it sound like, it was so many years ago, but really it was 2009, it's 2014 now. So in 5 years, you've gone from a one-man operation to an international company. And what's your rough head count total?
We are 24 right now.
That's
24 people.
That's amazing that you service so much. That's really crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah. The warehouse, seeing it, Russ, you have to see. It's crazy when you just see pallets of these bags and the piles of foam and it's amazing to think that this all started, with in that little elevator.
Right. Yeah. The little elevator.
Elevator.
So we don't want to run out of time in here, Romeo, and not get you to talk about the future. We've got a lot of past in here. So what's hot right now and what's coming soon?
That's right. What's around the corner?
Yeah.
What's hot? All right. Well, it's easy because what's hot is actually something that I've been working on for like literally 2 years. Because this is just a spoil of a licensed product we're going to be doing. Mm-hmm. I don't want to give it away, but I will tell you some hints. Okay. Working vigorously right now with a future partner to work out some details. It is, I'll tell you this much. It's a huge company. Huge in the gaming world. I'll give you that much. Before you guys say it's not Games Workshop. Okay. I'll just get rid of that. All right.
To that. Okay.
Until like a few of the head honchos drop dead, I don't think they'll ever.
I was going to say, are you serious? Because they've got such a good reputation for working well with others.
I hear they're looking for a CEO.
They are. Oh, that's the big thing. Romeo has got to be the new CEO.
Games Workshop.
I would never take that job.
That rumor has started right now. Here it is. That's the rumor. You heard it here in the D6 generation.
Never. I would never. First of all, I don't think that anybody who's a CEO at a Games Workshop can ever win. So I don't want to be a loser forever.
I was going to say that's not a job I think most people would ever want at this point.
It's like the presidency. You will age ridiculously quick.
There's no happy ending there.
Didn't Kirby lose all his hair being there? I thought he had like a full head of beautiful hair like Brad Pitt. And
I think he looked like Fabio.
That's right. That's what I heard.
Now, poor guy, look at him. Anyway, so there's a very big license that we're like literally on the very back end.
I have so many guesses. You're teasing me to death here, Romeo.
I cannot tell you, honestly, because I was sworn to secrecy or I would be killed.
Yeah.
You got a lot of that coming at you.
By John Kowalski from Gale Force 9. He would kill me. Okay. So anyway, the thing about it is the contract, why it's taken so long is there's so many levels to the company, right?
That's a hint too.
Yeah, there's just checks and balances, and people just aren't always in the office. They don't have time to really take their time with, they probably have 50 projects on their table. Right. And then there's this bad guy that keeps calling.
It's an annoying guy from Arizona.
Let's put the bad guy back on hold.
The Arizona area code again. Hang on a minute.
The good news is
bad guy on hold. That's awesome.
The good news is I talked to like the head honcho, the owner of the company, and he greenlighted the project. But he goes, listen, I got to get like legal on this. I got to get like design on this. I got to get like the guys with marketing and development on this. And all these people, they're all doing all kinds of like cats running around everywhere. So it may take a few months. So obviously we are completely patient. We're on their side. We don't care. But it's a big contract, and it's going to be, I think, a very big deal for us.
Oh, very cool.
We're excited. And that's going to be something that will probably be finished, or at least an announcement made, first quarter of next year. So that's a big one.
That's exciting.
Okay.
So that's a bit.
So look for a brand new licensed line this Q1. Right.
It has to do with books. I'll tell you that much.
Books.
Books and models, but it has to do with books too.
Books
Okay.
and
I'm not going to give you any more. That's it. That's way too much, actually.
Books and models. All right, now I'm thinking. I'm writing things down here.
Yeah, Romeo is not the great guy, the best guy for keeping secrets.
No, come on.
He likes to talk. He likes to talk.
Craig knows because I always give him secrets on like Wild West Texas
That's
stuff.
right.
Way early. I'm like, I don't want to tell you that because it's going to totally change your mindset of what you're working on right now. And he's like, Anyway, the other thing that's a big deal is we're calling it Back in Black, even though we've never worn black before. It just sounds cool. So come next year, our range is going to start shading dark, if that makes any sense. So that's a pretty cool thing because a lot of people have wanted that.
What do you mean by shading dark? You mean like the red bags will have shaded black on them?
No, we're going to go black.
Oh,
we're going to go black on a lot of bags, which is some people have asked for so many.
Oh, right,
years.
because they're green. A lot of the packs are green.
Right.
Okay.
Now we'll still offer the green, and the green is
right.
obviously still be available, but people really like the black and
now
want to seek bags of black.
Early on, did you avoid black? Because gamers love black. And did you avoid black because your competitors' bags were all black?
Yes. I mean, to be honest with you, we wanted to create a name for ourselves.
But stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what I meant. Yep.
And Battlefoam's done a good job to kind of use the name and the logo to define itself to where now I think as long as the logo's visible, people understand what we're doing.
Well, I think you've got to look, too, at the way the flaps work. Like,
absolutely.
I just picked up this last Gen Con. I picked up the new Privateer Press tournament bag for my daughter.
Yeah.
Man, that is a hot bag. And she loves it. It's the perfect size for her models, and it looks really cool.
And you can tell it's a Battlefoam
bag.
and
you the way those flaps look, Romy, you've got a look going on there. You just know it's Battlefoam.
Thanks, buddy.
It's cool.
And the other cool thing is the Moly bags. If you've seen the latest and greatest,
I did. I have a double XL Moly. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I thought it was Molly. I thought we were getting all kinds of emails.
It is Molly. Yeah, we get emails.
Okay.
Romeo, just saying.
We're getting emails from the field, man.
We do.
We gotta go with the boys on the front
overseas. The guys wearing the gear.
For 8 years, man. We call them Moly all the time. I don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe we're all retarded in the
Send
Marines.
emails.
There we go.
To Romeo at Battlefoam.
Vet versus vet action right there. You guys can take it up together. Maybe the Marines call it Moly.
Maybe you know, we say Army Marine Day, and other ones say hoo-ha. So I don't know.
Sure. There you go.
Who knows? Who can say?
Anyway, we all know what you're talking about.
It's awesome.
Because it's been the coolest thing we've been talking about since Adepticon.
Right. I got it at Adepticon. It's awesome.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. We're excited about the Moly Molly because
the Molly Moly.
It just really has no limit to the outside of the bag. And
it's
for
awesome.
us, that was a realm that always kind of was trivial for me because I thought, look, we're doing all this customization inside the bag, but that's cool. Yeah. But what if I want to bring this trinket or that trinket or my new iPhone 6.5 quarter-inch 16 by 28 screen,
don't bend it.
Don't bend it. What is it? Benghazi? They call it Benghazi? Oh my God. We are so stupid. Anyway. Oh, by the way, do you know what John Kerry calls the new ISIS?
Oh, dear.
Oh, what?
The terrorist group. He calls them the ISIL. What do you call it? ISILs. How can you call them that if you're the
I don't. We should stay away from politics here, Romeo.
We sort of avoid that.
Let's just stay away from that whole topic.
I'm
really.
sorry. I'm just saying.
Send an email to Romeo@battlefoam.com.
That's right.
Crap like that just drives me crazy. Anyway, so the Moly Molly, the cool thing about it is it gives you variety, which is something that I really wanted to have the bags do, which is why the zippers were always part of the facet. And what's exciting about the future is we're releasing a lot of accessories in the next 12 months. So starting in 24, what year? 15? Whatever it is.
Yes, next year.
So next year or whatever it is. Starting first quarter next year, we're going to really start ramping up the design of even more.
Yeah. Are you going to more attachments? Because I got the iPad attachment. I got the little dice. I use it for dice, the little pouch attachment, and then the wider pouch attachment.
Yeah.
So more of those coming.
Bag. That's kind of like for everything. It's like a big chunk of thing.
Yep.
Then you have the grenade pouch, which is great for tape measures, wallets, and junk, and whatever you want to throw in there. And then the iPad one, of course, for tablets and iPads and Kindles. But we also are doing one that's going to be kind of like the gamer's aid one, where it has a room for your pen. It has room to put like, dry erase markers if you're going to be doing those. It has. It's got separation pockets.
I have an idea for you. It may sound stupid, but I take the XXL with me all the time. You know what I'd love is one for the Molly that actually has those expanding like nets that you could put a soda bottle in. You know the ones that are inside of backpacks?
Oh yeah, you're talking about like a cargo net.
Yeah, so you could put soda in it though. Just wide enough for a soda to go in, like or a 16-ounce soda bottle.
Yeah. Okay. So we're definitely
Cup
doing
holder,
a cup holder accessory one, right?
Okay,
So you
cool.
can put a cup holder anywhere. Well,
You
not
need
a
it,
cup holder,
Craig.
but like a little pouch that looks like
here's
a
the
cup
thing. The XXL is basically a side table. Let's be honest. So you take your stuff out. So I use it for descent. So you take your stuff out, then you zip it closed, and now it's a sideboard for your stuff on top. And it'd be perfect to have a little soda right there.
What is the XXL? What are you talking about?
I don't know. Is it XL?
It's what he calls the giant bag.
I added an extra X because it's bigger than me.
20 XL?
No, it's the new one you're coming out with, Romeo. It's twice the size. It's as big as it's as big as a VW Beetle. It's the new one, right?
1520 XL. Okay, so
Right.
It comes with a small electric motor.
That's right. It's got an engine in the front, 4 wheels.
The outboard motor on it.
Right, exactly.
Okay, that's all.
It's water. It floats. It's a boat. It's an airplane.
Yes.
Yeah, I added an extra X because it's so big.
Rossi asked us not to reveal all that during the show.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So anyway,
I'm making up model numbers here.
Okay. So no, yes, we are doing a there's going to be one for that, but even better, there is going to be one to hold 3 beers. We've scientifically designed one to hold 3 bottles of beer or 4 cans of beer.
Scientifically designed.
This one is actually going to have the the water sealed inside, so you can put ice in it.
Stays cold. Oh, you're brilliant. See,
Exactly.
awesome.
So you'll be able to cinch this bad boy on.
Can I
put
pre-order
some ice
yet?
at the bottom of it, drop 2-3 beers in
See,
there, and
I'm
you're
pre-ordering that
ready.
right now. That's happening right now. I'm on the website. It's not here yet, Romeo. I want to pre-order right now. Darn it.
It's coming. It's
Okay.
coming. It's
All
good
right,
stuff.
fair.
So
Russ
those
wants
are
the one for the margarita holder. That's
Yes,
what
the
Russ-
margarita holder be good too. Mixed drinks.
Pretty girl.
Yeah.
We sell pretty girls that you can have them hold your drinks for you too,
All right. Well, whatever.
Wow.
or not.
I don't know what
Nothing
happened
goes
there.
over his head. His reflexes are too fast. He would catch them.
I
Ready.
don't even know what happened there. All right.
So those are the big things, and
Awesome.
really, it's just been a lot of devotion to getting the bags we currently have to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what we focused on 2014, and we're going to start seeing more of that in 2015. Instead of just constantly releasing new bags, it just boggles the mind because you can only have so many sizes and shapes.
Right.
We really wanted to kind of wing it back a little bit and say, you know what, let's focus on what we have that's a winner and really make it great for the
Fine
customer.
design. Yeah, right. Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
and last but not least, I got one.
Here we go.
We are launching on November 1st a new warranty program. I think you guys are the first people to hear about this because
Nice.
I don't feel I've ever talked about this before. It's a new warranty program. Like many other warranties, when you buy a TV or a phone or whatever the heck you want, there'll be a minimal price based on the MSRP of the bag or the product you're buying, and it will be a extended warranty, if you call it that.
Oh,
and
okay.
what that warranty will do is it will cover everything. Tears, rips, you run it over your car because you're an imbecile. Doesn't matter. We don't want to know why it's broken. Just send it back. It's going to have a number attached to it, a serial number attached to it. All the bags will have serial numbers inside of them, so that we can track what's on what's been done and what hasn't, and send those back to us. We replace them at no cost during the term of that extended warranty. So and if we don't make that bag anymore, we'll make a better version. You get the better version.
Nice.
If we've updated the bag and the bag has new skin on it, or now it has Molly on it and it didn't before, boom, you get the new one. There's no questions asked. You don't get upcharged. You don't even pay for shipping. All you do is send it back to us. We send it back to you for free. So, and it's going to be very nominal. I mean, the numbers are going to be realistic. You're not going to pay, $60 extended warranty on a $100 bag. It'll be
Nice.
more like $10.
I think it's a great idea, Romeo. Especially, you it's an investment in these bags. They're awesome. You're going to have them for a long time.
Exactly.
You want to make sure they're going to last. That's great.
The big thing for us is I'm a consumer too, right? And I want to be on the receiving end of good customer service. So I put myself in the gamer shoes and the customer shoes. And I think to myself, if I was, just in a accidental bad situation, I got my models, I'm already, bummed out because my models got smashed. Maybe TSA just destroyed my bag and they crunched it with something. I'm already bummed out. I've lost a ton of money in my models. The last thing that I want is a headache from the bag manufacturer in getting that fixed too, So we want to really make people feel comfortable and get their stuff taken care of, get it back on track, and get back working. So that's another thing we're putting into effect next month.
Awesome. Well, Romeo, thank you so much for taking time out here and joining us.
I
And give us
can't wait to find out what this big deal
Yeah,
is.
I know. I got to know what this big licensing deal is. I can't wait.
I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
And then you can't tell anybody because Craig's already storing so many secrets anyway.
It's
a
brutal.
lot.
Yeah, I want to know a secret. Craig gets to know all the secrets.
Okay,
know.
I'll tell you a secret.
Right.
Romeo. No, I got nothing.
Okay. Well, Romeo, thanks so much. And we'll be back in a little bit to talk about games.
Bye.
This is Total Fangirl. Regular Jane most days, total fangirl when the moment strikes. Han shot first. Starbuck is a guy. And Lestat, now there's a vampire. Hey everyone, this is Nicole, your Total Fangirl. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicole Wakeland and check out my blog, TotalFangirl.com. This week's shout out is to all of our wonderful supporters over at Patreon. Head to patreon.com/the D6 generation and you too can support the show. So last weekend, we celebrated my daughter's birthday very late in the game. Things just kind of got away from us. And yeah, she was born in the summer. We just celebrated it as the leaves are falling from the trees. But it was kind of interesting because she was all excited to play games with her friends. And initially she thought about having a sleepover and then realized, well, that's an all-girl thing. And she had boys that she's friends with she wanted to invite. And then she wanted to do a gaming thing with Xbox and have everything all, together in the living room with all the TVs pulled together and all the Xboxes so everyone could have a giant game. And realized some of her friends didn't play video games, but she still really wanted to play games, which I thought was kind of neat. So she handed it over to, surprise, her dad and said, Dad, I'm going to have my friends over. And now she's turning 12. She's going to have all my friends over and I want you to plan some good games, but, fun games that the kids will really like. I want you to show them how we play games. So Russ was feeling a wee small amount of pressure to pull this off and to make Rose's birthday party something fantabulous. And he planned some games that are just sort of typical party games. The kind of stuff you play at every party. There were games with a little frisbee toss thing that he was doing, and he had them doing sort of a treasure hunty kind of thing around the yard and stuff the kids loved. But then he decided at the end that he was going to play Werewolf, which is, that game you break out every time there's a huge crowd of people and you want everyone to be able to play. And you want to have 15 people, however many people all at once playing. So most of our friends had never played this before, but a couple had, and they were so excited for this game. And Russ was kind of nervous about how it would go over. You just never know what kids are going to think about games like that they've never played. And they started playing, and they loved it. They were so into this game. They just thought it was the greatest thing they ever played. And where did they get this? And how do I get this? And oh my gosh, I want to play again. So much so that one of the girls, when her dad came to pick her up, was in the middle of a game and she had to leave. And she's like, I want to play this again. Tell Rose I want to play it again. She has to come over sometime. We have to play this game with everybody. This is really fun. So that turned out to be the hit of her birthday party, not the phenomenal make your own ice cream sundaes that we did or the cool prizes or any of that stuff, but playing Werewolf and getting to play a game that they had never done before. So it was a great win for Rose because she had a wonderful birthday. And I think it was a win for us because now I have no idea why, but all the kids think he's the cool dad.
Hey, welcome back. And now we would like to talk to you about our friends over at Conquistador Games.
Yes, or as I like to remember, CQ Games, because I cannot spell Conquistador. There's one too many U's, a couple of I's in there shouldn't be there. I don't know. But in any case, head on over to CQGames.com and check out all the great games they have there. Craig, do you remember my personal favorite?
I think your personal favorite, Russ, is The New Science, which is a fantastic game, not only for theme and play, but the art is beautiful. It's very thematic. Oh, the entire game really is nice of a piece, as they say.
It is, and it's one of those games that everything merges together, and all their games have this. The theme is captured. You really feel like you're doing what the game is setting out to try to make you believe you are doing, with great mechanics, and it's challenging and fun. And it's one of those games where it doesn't take much to learn, and once you start playing it, all of a sudden you're in strategic mode and not spending a lot of time trying to figure out the rules. You're trying to.
Is it going to take you a lifetime to master? That's the question.
Possibly.
Probably
will. You got Road to, but New Science is only one of their catalog. You got the Road to Enlightenment, which is also fantastic. Yep. You've got Tomorrow, which is sort of their non-historical sort of wacky future game. Yeah, a little creepy, not gonna lie. Great components for that game to kick it a notch, like tank meeples and nuclear explosion meeples. Any game with nuclear explosion meeples, you're on the right track. So check it out. Head over to CQGames.com for all their great hotness.
And that's, of course, Conquistador Games.
I'm Rafe Hollywood Granger, and this is the Hollywood Minute.
All right, welcome back. It's Rafe Hollywood Granger, and this is the Hollywood Minute, post Extra Life, day +1. You can follow me on the D6G Hollywood on Twitter, Hollywood at the D6generation.com, or my YouTube channel, Rafe Hollywood Granger. Let's start with the YouTube channel. Still working on getting the League of Legends videos up there. A listener is going to help me out, Frenzy Kitty, thank you. We're going to hook up by Skype and try to figure out what the heck's going on so I can get these videos uploaded. Second thing is, let's see, it's Extra Life Day +1. So Ian was hosting at Rich's Warehouse. And Rich's, by the way, is the guy, I can't think of his business name right now, but he's the guy who's making these really cool wands and swords. When I get the proper link, I'll shout it out to you, but you guys will love it. He's making them all out of like custom wood and rare woods and stuff like that. They look really cool. Anyway, it's called Level Up Woodsmith. That's what it's called. Yeah, check that out. Anyway, so at Rich's Warehouse, Ian was hosting D&D 5th, and his goal was to DM for 24 hours straight, which he did do. 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. the next day. I arrived at 10 a.m. I didn't make any firm commitments, but I wanted to try to play D&D for the whole time. But if a board game was going to sway me, or if I was just getting a little bored with the group or whatever was happening, I was going to exit stage left. And that's how Ian wanted it. He wanted people to feel free to pop in and out. I ended up staying the whole time. So I gamed from 10 a.m. I think I left at about 1 a.m. And I played this dwarven cleric who didn't know he was a cleric. He thought he was just a fighter, and so he wouldn't even know how he healed. He would just be like, "Come here, lad. Let me take a look at you. Oh, you're fine." And then whoop, healing, cure light wounds. So it was really fun to play him where he didn't know he was a healer. And then when people would join in and out, they would say, "Hey, Rafe, what are you playing?" And then I said, "I'm playing a dwarven fighter," and then let them figure it out midway through. Most of the time, most of the players just said, "He's playing a cleric." But Ian did a great job. We played Keep on the Borderlands, the old one, and he just adapted it to 5e. I'd say the highlight for me was I was sitting next to Randy Brown, who's a big Eurogamer, and we got this idea in our heads that we wanted to, I've never Eurogamed a role-playing game. And so we got this idea in our head that we were going to take the loot, like American Pickers, from the dungeon and open up a stall down in the merchant area. So we spent about an hour and a half, probably about 90 minutes role-playing Euro-style supply chain. So we had to get our booth set up. We had to get our papers read by an accountant and a lawyer. And he and I were just having a blast. I think the other people at the table then were like, "Oh, give me a break," but they knew there was no stopping us. So that was a lot of fun. So Ian did a good job with that. 5e is awesome. I made it as far as my cleric getting to 5th level, and it was really fun. If you haven't checked out D&D 5, I highly recommend you do that. So yeah, I'm a little bit tired. The other thing that's going on is I woke up early this morning. I'm fixing my breezeway with the help of my brother-in-laws. I had to do some demo work, rip down some doors, did some framing. It was an old 3-season porch breezeway. I'm ripping that out. Right now my eyes are all dusty and teared up, and I'm scratching them to death because they got all sorts of gunk in them. And the third thing I want to let you know about is I've been playing, as you know, Lord of the Rings collectible card game by myself, having a blast. I'm doing the Hobbit expansion right now. And Rodney sent me a link to make sure I'm doing the rules right. Rodney, I should have given you a shout out. I learned how to play by watching the FFG videos, and then I went right over to Rodney Smith's Watch It Played and watched his couple 3 videos on Lord of the Rings collectible card game. So I do think that I'm sorry, like the last time you heard that, I was struggling with the rules, but since you heard it in between when it aired, I had watched about 6 videos on that. So, if you guys want to try something a little different and you like the kind of things that I like, I wouldn't even hesitate. Go buy the core set. Watch the Fantasy Flight Games video and then switch over to Watch It Played and watch Rodney go through first couple steps, and it really walks you through it, and I'm having an absolute blast. So still haven't completed it. I keep getting killed by the 3 trolls in the first Hobbit expansion. So I'll let you know. I'm playing a lore and tactics deck, so I think that's the book and the sword. And I like my deck, because again, playing solo, you gotta have a little versatility. I like my deck, but it definitely needs some tweaks, which I'm looking forward to. I haven't had a chance to deck build. I thought that's what I would do at Extra Life if I got a little bored, but it didn't turn out that way. I went right on through with gaming and D&D 5. Alright, so that's pretty much it. My eyes are crusty. I'm tired. Good day of Extra Life. Good donations. We'll catch up with you next time, folks. This is Rafe Hollywood Granger signing out. Again, you can follow me on the D6G on Twitter. The D6G Hollywood on Twitter, or Hollywood at the D6 Generation, or try my YouTube channel, Rafe Hollywood Granger. Ciao for nowy.
Hey, welcome back. And now we would like to talk to you a little bit about our friends at Game Salute.
Yeah,
and a couple of the games that are popping up everywhere all of a sudden.
Exactly right. Like, my favorite just come in from the Kickstarter is Tiny Epic Kingdoms, which of course is delivered by Game Salute. Fantastic game. Great components. Great stuff. And again, these are the kind of games that would not get to you were it not for our friends at Game Salute. These are the guys that get out there. They work with designers. They work to get the games out to the streets. Games like Tiny Epic Kingdoms, or TEK for those in the know. Epic Death, King's Forge, Nothing
now, is
Personal.
Tech acceptable?
What?
TEK Tech.
Sure. Why not? Why not?
Okay.
King's Forge, you name it. Great. Walkstar is back. That was a classic.
I'm seeing King's Forge and Walkstar make it onto a lot of people's Extra Life.
Yeah, indeed. A lot of the piles there. Both great games. And again, if you want to experience the awesome that is Game Salute and all their great games, when you head over to GameSalute.com, you can learn all about how they help people get their games published. You can also learn about all the great games they have by clicking on the Games tab. And if you want to order a game through them, you could do a good thing for yourself by putting in the code D6G156. Save a little money on your order. Check out that. Just go there and click on the Games tab and see all the fantastic games that many of these you will know. And the ones you don't know, you'll be like, ooh, that looks really cool. Keyflower, Vinci, Walkstar, Area 1851.
Bell of the Ball.
Oh, man, there's so many good games here. So many games. So go over and check it out. GameSalute.com.
The great snowball battle. .com.
This is the D6 Generation Podcast. More fun than Merchant of Venus. Wait, what? Who writes this? That's impossible.
Hey, welcome back. And now it's time to talk about the Black Fleet. Right, Craig?
Black Fleet.
Yes. And this was a game that I didn't even know was coming out. I didn't even know it existed.
It looks silly.
I'm walking in Gen Con, and we're in one of the demo areas there, and there's a bunch of tables
There's
to set up.
There's a song parody there. I'm walking in Gen Con.
and my daughter sees this thing, and I'm like, whoa, and it's got like just amazing components. And long story short, we picked it up, and I've been really enjoying it, so I wanted to review it here on the show and play with gamers, and they seem to enjoy it too. So let's talk about it. First of all, the overview. What is this thing? Came out 2014 by a company called Space Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Craig.
So is this like another game that's like a collaboration between two companies?
The box says Space Cowboys, and so I didn't know if it was by anybody we know, but the components are amazing. And it turned out that if you go to Board Game Geek, Asmodee is also listed. happened to be playing the game at Myriad, and Dan, of course, of GameStop was there. And he said, oh, the guys involved with Space Cowboys are some of the original founders of Asmodee. Uh-huh. So that explains it. And it also explains the passion for components, because if you ever played an Asmodee game, these are the games that have the crazy, amazing components that nobody can understand how they make it so affordable. So let's talk about it. It's a 3 to 4 player game.
Mm-hmm. So it's a little limited.
About an hour. Which isn't too bad. Nice. It's
no,
fast.
and that hour zips by.
Yeah. So There's a nice little blurb on the back of the box that kind of describes the game. So, Craig, would you please, in a very, sort of appropriate voice, please read the description of the game here for us?
Okay. Oh, me hearties. In the easy-to-play, tactical card-driven board game Black Fleet, you're in command of 3 different types of ships. Your merchant ship earns you doubloons by conveying goods from one port to another. Your pirate ship by attacking and stealing goods from merchants and burying them all islands. And the navy ships by sinking your opponent's pirate ships. With your not always honestly won money, you'll improve your ships by buying advancement cards, giving you powerful additional abilities.
Yeah.
Outwit your opponents with fortune cards and combos. Earn money faster than they do and pay the ransom for the governor's daughter to win the game.
Exactly right. And all that comes in one nice square box package priced at $60 US.
Which is kind of crazy for the components.
Yeah, well, let's talk about what's in the box. So, Craig, what does it sound like to open a box full of naval excitement?
Like this. Bing, 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 bing.
Anchors away, me hearties. Right, just like that.
Away, my boat.
Yeah, there's even Navy ships. So in this box, and this is the thing, you open, first of all, it's covered with fantastic artwork, right? The box itself. The box is beautiful.
Funny, kind of silly.
Cartoony, but
themey, very cool.
But really well drawn. And you open it up, it is just chock full of 65 wooden cubes of a variety of colors, 10 really nicely detailed plastic ships.
Great, like awesome, cartoony, but awesomely fully realized to the point where you kind of have to almost paint them.
Yeah, they do call to you a little bit. 30 metal doubloons.
I mean, what game comes with the metal
doubloons? You don't even need like fancy campaign coins. It's right there in the box.
Although they're cool.
Yeah, some number of them are silver. I can't remember how they break down exactly. I think most of them are silver, then a small amount are gold worth 5 points. You get a deck of a bunch of different decks of cards. You get 44 movement cards in a deck. You get 44 fortune cards in a deck. 24 of these development cards. 4 player identification cards, which is regular size cards, and then 8 of the victory cards as well. So you get a lot in the box, plus a nice full color rulebook that's easy to read and got great artwork in it. Craig, would you say this game is worth $60? What's in there?
I would say that you would be silly to think it's not worth $60.
I would agree. And not only that, the best part of the game is hidden. So after you take everything out of the box, there's this beautiful foam insert, those vacuum pulled foam inserts that have spots for everything. When everything's out of there, you realize the vacuum shape is a skull and crossbones inside the box that holds everything. It's just awesome. And everything fits back in. It's a beautiful game. Looks great, fun to open, actually fun to put away, just all goes back in its right spots. The kind of thing you normally used to seeing in a Days of Wonder game, everything has its place just nicely. The Asmodee does the same thing with their games. And taking it out of the box is pretty straightforward. Setting up the game's easy. First, there's a couple nuances to it. So first you flop the board out. No big deal. First thing you're going to do is grab that big pile of cubes. The cubes come in 4 different colors. You got your purple cubes, your green cubes, your yellow cubes, and your blue cubes. I think that's all of them. And you'll notice on the board, which is a beautiful looking, Craig, can you describe the board? It's this beautiful looking board with the Caribbeans on there, all kinds of great colored art.
Yeah, well, is it the Caribbean? I don't even know. It's just this awesome island filled sea.
It's not historically accurate Caribbean.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be evocative of the Caribbean.
Right.
And it's got all kinds of cool, like the islands, and some of the islands have little like X marks the spot, like pirate hideaways, and there's ports, it's just awesome. It's the graphic design is great. You see the ports each have a different color that's clearly delineated, but at the same time it's not gaudy. It's really coolly incorporated into the artwork for that port. Mm-hmm. And then there's just it's a map, it's a board, it's a map, it's a painting, it's awesome. It's really cool.
And the board's all divided up in the Bears corners, as Craig mentioned, there are these ports. And the ports are color coded too really nicely to show you which kind of cargo they sell. So there's a red port, a green port, and a blue port. So you put all the cubes next to their ports that they belong with. But what's cool is the artwork on the board tells you the fluff of what kind of cube it is. So the blue cubes in the port, you can see the little crates with tool symbols on them, and these guys sell craftsman's tools. Another port, the yellow port, which is yellow cubes, you can see there's a lot of corn there, so you can imagine you're hauling corn. Doesn't really matter. You don't need it for the mechanics, but just neat. The theme, the artwork just supports the theme and brings it forward, which is nice. So again, flop the board out, put the cubes in their ports, takes a couple seconds. Well, one guy's doing that. The other guy can put the Navy ships on the board. So there's a variety of color ships, but 2 of the ships are unique colors, and they're unique sculpts. There's a, I think it's yellow and purple ship, and these go on little icons in the center of the board. These are navies that are going to be controlled by different players throughout the game, and they're sort of neutral ships, but they do hunt pirates, so you got to watch for them. You're also going to shuffle the cards by their deck backs and keep them in separate decks. You're going to also, there's a bunch of these smaller cards called development cards. And the development deck actually is a bunch of sub-decks. So there's a bunch of decks that have pictures of cannonballs in the back. And there's a small number of cards that have pictures of like a little shop on the back. And you're going to shuffle these up, and then you're going to deal one to each player face up, and you form a little row of cards. And the neat thing about these is when you form the row of cards, the back of the cards...
It's a mural!
Forms a mural, exactly, that shows you the order of the cards. And the rightmost card is the picture of the governor's daughter. Right. And so these are all cards you're going to be able to develop as the game goes on and improve your empire, if you will. And then the last thing is to ransom the governor's daughter, which is sort of the end game state.
Yeah.
So you got these cards laid out in front of you, like what you're going to try to build. Then you get an ID card for each fleet, which also, again, goes, in the front of the development cards. And that's kind of cool. You flip it over and it tells you what color fleet you're playing. So this immediately gives each player a random which color fleet they're going to play. And the player who gets the black fleet, that player gets to go first. The black fleet moves first. Thus the name of the game. Mm-hmm. Then you're almost ready to start. You deal each player one fortune card, and you deal them 2 movement cards. More about how those work later. And then the black fleet's going to start, and each player then in player order, so black player starts, and then clockwise from him, he's going to put each player has 2 ships that are his color. He has a merchant ship, which is a larger ship. And we should say these little ship models are built in such a way that there's spots so they can hold their cargo cubes.
They're great.
So the merchant ship can have 3 cargo cubes in it. The pirate ship can hold 1 cargo cube in it.
But they still look awesome. It's not like they look like, just chunky cube conveyors. They look like awesome ships that happen to carry these cubes.
And the cubes go inside between the masts, and it looks good. They look like they're loaded down with treasure or cargo. And what you do is you're going to pick which port. So the black fleet player is going to pick which port his merchant's going to start in. So let's say he chooses to put it in the red port. When he puts it in the red port, he immediately loads it up with 3 red cubes. Then Craig gets to pick where his ship's going to start, and he might pick to put it in the green port, and he puts 3 green cubes in there. Now, also we should mention that each of these ports, not only do they have cool artwork showing what kind of goods they sell, they also have icons for the other crates that they will buy from you and how much they're worth. So you can look at the board and see that the green port will buy red cubes, and here's how much money they pay for red. And it's not all the same. So the farther the port is away from the place that generates the cubes, the more it's worth. So you can take the cubes on a short trip and get a little bit of money, or you can take the cubes all the way across the board and get a lot of money. But of course, the longer you travel across the board, the more peril you will face. So that's really simple as well. So you pick your starting spots, and now you're ready to begin, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense, Craig? Set up?
Yep.
Get ready to go?
Yep.
All right.
Makes sense to me.
Board looks beautiful. Now, the thing that's going to be a little confusing, don't search the whole book. Your pirate ship, remember you have 2 ships. You have a merchant ship and a pirate ship. Your pirate ship starts in front of you off the board. Don't fret. That's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
All right? So,
yes.
Yes. So here's how you play. The goal of the game, right, the very first thing we should talk about is what you're trying to do to win. Basically, it's make lots of money. But that's not really the goal. The goal is to eventually improve all those development cards in front of you. The real goal is to ransom off the governor's daughter. Now, each of these improvement cards, when they're forming that beautiful little mural in front of you that Craig mentioned, they have a little number in the upper left-hand corner. That's how much doubloons it costs to make that improvement.
Yeah.
And throughout the game, you're going to have opportunities to improve these, and you can improve them in any order, but you cannot do the governor daughter improvement until the rest of them have all been improved.
Right. You're going to eventually have to flip everything whether you want it or not before you can win the game.
Now, the neat thing about these cards is on the other side of the card, where it's not the mural, there is a bonus your fleet gets for making that improvement. And here's the cool part. While we all have a card with pictures of cannonballs on one side of it, my improvement for unlocking my cannonballs will be different than Craig's improvement for unlocking the cannonballs. So what you want to do at the beginning of the game is look at all your improvements and start to think about the order you're going to want to do those improvements in order to best serve your strategy, right?
Right.
And you want to have access. It's an asymmetrical game now because the improvements I have access to, Craig does not have access to. So it's not like a tech tree where we all can develop the same tech. The things we're going to improve are completely different from each other, which is neat. So there's a lot of replayability there, and there are more different development cards of each category than there are players in the game. In other words, there's 4 players maximum in the game, but there are like 6 development cards of each type. So you may not even see all the development options in the first time you play the game, which gives a little more replayability too, which is neat. So again, you get the cards in front of you, you're going to upgrade them, get them out of the way so eventually you can ransom the queen's daughter, which is really just, or the governor's daughter, which is really just the final upgrade, and then you're going to win the game.
Right.
So how do you actually do this thing? So Black Fleet starts first. Craig, do you remember what you do?
The Black Fleet. Well, first you're going to pick a starting port for your merchant ship.
Yep, did that already.
And you already did that.
Yes.
How to play goal? Well, I don't know. Where are you going to? I don't know.
All right, we're going to play your movement card, right?
So
sorry, I'm going to throw you off there.
I don't know.
It's getting late.
Sorry, off the rails.
My bad.
Help, Russ! Throw me in.
Remember, each player at the start of the game was dealt 2 movement cards.
Yes.
So the primary thing you're going to do in your turn, it's really simple. You're going to play one of your movement cards. You only play one even though you got 2, so you got a choice. Now, when you look at these movement cards, there are 3 different icon sets on them. There's always an icon at the top for one of the Navy ships, and it's a color. It's either going to be the yellow Navy ship or the purple Navy ship. That means if you play that movement card, you're going to be able to move one of those colored Navy ships. The next row is going to show the picture of a pirate ship representing your pirate ship, and it's going to have a number next to that indicating how far you can move the pirate ship. Yeah. The third row is going to have a picture of your merchant ship, and it's going to have how many spaces you can move your merchant ship. So of these 2 cards you're reviewing, one might have you can move a Navy ship 2, and it's got to be the purple Navy ship. You can move your pirate ship 3, but you can move your merchant ship 5. The other card you might be holding only has you moving your merchant ship 2, but the pirate ship 5. So you're going to play the card. It's going to work out, and then whichever card you play is going to let you move all 3 ships. So I'm going to be able to move the Navy ship of the color indicated, my own merchant ship, and my own pirate ship, right? And so I'm going to pick the card based on what kind of actions I'm going to get. Now, in addition, when I activate my ship and move it, I also can perform 1 action with each ship.
Right.
Making sense so far?
Yes.
So the action I can choose depends on the ship I'm moving. So if I move the merchant ship first, and it shows a picture of a merchant ship and it shows a 5 next to it, it means I can move them 5 spaces on the board and staying in the ocean from where I'm going to where I'm getting to. If I can get the merchant to a port, I can take the merchant action. The merchant action is to pick up and deliver. So when you get to a port, you sell all the cubes in your merchant ship for whatever money is indicated on the port you get to for the color cubes your ship is hauling. Right. Now, what's interesting about this game is you can never haul different kinds of colors. The way it works is when you get to a port, you must sell all your cubes. Yep. And then you immediately pick up all the cubes that port generates. So if I was hauling red cubes and I got to the green port, I would sell all 3 of my red cubes. And in the green port, red cubes might be worth, I don't remember the number, it might be worth 2 each. So I get 6 doubloons for that. Yeah. And then I immediately fill my ship up with green cubes and I put the red cubes back in their red port for someone else to pick up later, right?
Right.
That's the only action the merchant ship has. Get to a port, pick up and deliver. Boom. They can only ever take 1 action a turn, though, so you can never pick up and deliver twice in a single turn. Even if there was some kind of magical way you get across the board in 1 turn, you couldn't pick up in one place and deliver in another. Yeah, there's some weird things that can happen. That's the merchant ship. Really, really simple. The merchant's job, get cargo from point A to point B for maximum dollars, right?
And avoid pirates.
Because if you move the pirate ship, okay, you can move your pirate ship as well based on the number on the card. The pirate's action, he has 2 different actions he can do. He can steal cargo from a merchant ship, or he can bury treasure. Mm-hmm. So, remember your pirate started off the board. So, first thing, if your pirate's not on the board right now, you can put him on the 4 corners of the board have this big golden arrows on them, meaning that's where pirates come from. Yeah. So you can put your pirate ship on one of the golden arrows, one of the 4 corners of the board, and then you can move them however far your card tells you can move them. So if I want to move my pirate ship 3, I move them 3 squares. Now, if during the course of my movement, and by the way, when you take this action for any of these ships, it can be the middle of movement. So if your merchant, for example, is 2 squares away from a port and he's got 4 movement, he can move 2 into the port, sell his cubes, get his new cubes, and then move 2 away from the port. So we can kind of keep going. Pirates are the same rule. When you're moving the pirates, they can take their action at any time. So if my move takes me past or adjacent to another merchant ship that's not my own, I can steal a cube from that merchant ship. It's all automatic, no dice rolling. What I do is I pull up next to Craig's ship, I take 1 cube out of Craig's merchant ship, and I put it inside my pirate ship and just giggle at how cool it is I can put cubes into a pirate ship. Yeah. Also, when I steal a cube, I also immediately get 2 doubloons for my trouble. So even if my pirate never gets that cube to where he's going with it, I just got 2 doubloons I cannot lose just for stealing it. So I'm definitely rewarded for stealing stuff, even if I don't get to do anything with that cube. All right, that's one action the pirate can do. The other action the pirate can do is, and by the way, he can only do that action if he has no cargo. So he's got to have that. He's got to be empty.
Right.
If the pirate ship has a cube on board, the other action he can do is to bury the treasure. So the pirates don't go to the ports and deliver treasure because they're pirates.
No, they'd be captured. They'd be shot on sight.
So instead, also on the board are a bunch of little islands that are basically in the way. But many of these little islands have little shovels next to them at certain squares. And next to the shovels is the amount of doubloons you will get for burying treasure there. So the one near the center of the board, you get 6 doubloons for burying treasure on it. Other places, you get less doubloons. You might get 3 doubloons, 2 doubloons, whatever. Right?
Yep.
So your pirate is going to steal some loot, and he's going to try to go bury it someplace for maximum treasure value.
Right.
Because you only ever get one action a turn, though, you can't steal a cube and bury it in the same turn, even if you're close enough to get from the ship to the islands. That's one thing to remember. So that's pirates, right, Craig?
Yep.
Check. The third kind of ship you get to move in your turn is the Navy ship. So remember, your card
in the
has
Navy,
exactly.
You will sail the seven seas.
Your card's going to have a yellow Navy ship on the top or a purple Navy ship, and there are in the game on the board at all times a yellow Navy ship and a purple Navy ship. So you get to choose. You don't get to choose. You have to move the ship that's indicated at the top. So if I get to move the yellow Navy ship, I can move them. Let's say it says 3 on my card. I can move them 3 squares. Now, the Navy ship action is to attack pirates. So if during the course of his turn, the Navy ship ends up adjacent to a pirate, he can sink that pirate instantly, removing it from the board and returning it to its owner, and score 2 doubloons for the bounty.
That's right.
And if the pirate ship was carrying cargo, that cargo goes back to the port it was originally from, and the pirate ship is dead, and the player who wins the pirate's going to have to bring it back in his next turn from the edge of the board. So this is cool. So basically, you're always going to get 2 doubloons for stealing treasure, even if your pirate ship gets later sunk by a Navy ship. The Navy ship's always going to get 2 doubloons for sinking a pirate ship, even if the pirate ship is empty. So the Navy's always encouraged to sink pirates. The pirates are always encouraged to steal treasure. And your merchants are trying like heck not to get stolen from. And actually, you end up sneaking near the Navy ship. So at least if you get stolen from, you can move the Navy next turn to go sink that stupid pirate, right? And get back to the port. So it's really this very interactive thing. Now, the other mechanic in the game we've sort of skipped is these fortune cards.
Mm-hmm.
So you start the game with 1 fortune card.
Yep.
These fortune cards give you a special power during your turn, and you can really play any number of fortune cards during your turn. The only rule is you can only play them during your turn, not during someone else's turn. So, Craig, can you give some examples of the fortune cards?
I can't for the life of me, Russ.
Okay.
It's been over a month.
Here's one of them. So one of them might say, extra wind. You can move one of your ships 2 extra spaces.
I remember that one.
So another one might be favorable gust, and you can move an enemy ship 2 spaces.
I remember that one.
Another one might be that is a tidal wave, and you can actually move over land as
that
one
one's
of your
ridiculous.
moves, which is ridiculous but kind of funny.
It's awesome.
So there's all kinds of crazy cards in here, and you can play them however much you like. Now, the only way to get more fortune cards, which is interesting, is remember I mentioned those movement cards. Mm-hmm. On the bottom of some of the movement cards, not all of them, there's an icon of a sailor grabbing another fortune card. And if you see that, it means after you play your movement card, you get to pick up another fortune card. Now, some of your movement cards will say that show a sailor with an X through a fortune card. And that means if you're playing that card, you got to discard one of your fortune cards to use it because it's a really powerful movement card. You got to discard it.
Yeah. And the balance is awesome because what you're looking at is the balance is twofold. The number of the spaces the ships are moving. Mm-hmm. So in one card, your pirate ships might move a lot, but everything else is not going to move a lot. In another card, your merchant ship might move a lot, but nobody else is going to move a lot. The secondary balance is these fortune cards and whether you're going to get one. So you might have one card where all the movement's pretty low, but you're going to get a fortune card or maybe even 2. Or it's got lots of cool movement, but it's going to cost you a fortune card. And these fortune cards, I'm not convinced they're like game winning, but some of them are so powerful that you start to get greedy for fortune cards.
Well, they break the assumption that you're in a safe spot, right? Because all of a sudden someone's coming across an island, and it just totally. So you got to keep your eyes out for them, which is fantastic. Yeah, so you play your card, you get your fortune. So your end of your turn basically is draw the fortune cards indicated on the movement card you played. Yep. But then also you discard your movement card you played, and you can draw one more movement card. You're always going to have 2 movement cards. And to choose from. So you got a little choice each turn what you want to play. And that's pretty much the entire game. Now, the only other mechanic we left out is during the end of your turn, you may also pay some doubloons to turn over one of your development cards. Remember that mural we talked about in the beginning?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the key to remember here is you can only ever turn over one development card per turn. So you can't save a bunch of money and flip them all over at once near the end or something when no one's noticing. You got to do one every turn. So you really want to be developing these pretty often. The other thing, though, is they give you some cool powers. So when you develop these things, you get bonus stuff. One of them I happen to remember is called insurance, for example. And this one is that when you deliver goods, you get 2 doubloons for every empty space on your merchant ship. So, for example, if a pirate stole one of my cubes and I made it to port, I would get the money for the cubes on my ship. If I only had 2 green cubes left and they're worth 3 each, I'd get 6 money for the green cubes and that's it. However, if I have insurance, I'll also get $2 doubloons for having the 1 empty spot because I was insured. So cool stuff like that. One thing I also forgot to mention is if you steal the last cube off a merchant ship, the merchant ship is sunk and removed from the board. And during the player's turn who has a sunk merchant ship, when he comes back, he can pick any port to start in, and he immediately refills his merchant ship with whatever color cube is in that port. So basically, at no time does a merchant ship have no cubes on it. Right. It always has some. And the thing that really stinks is when you get knocked down to one cube in your merchant ship, you can't sink yourself. So you've got to go deliver that cube. Right. So insurance becomes really cool there because you're making at least 4 extra doubloons you wouldn't make whenever you get the port.
But there's another cool component to the game inside what you just described, which is you have that adrenaline of losing ships, which you don't want to lose, but they come right back. So it's not like this game loser. In fact, quite often your strategy is going to be built around, okay, I can lose this ship because I'm trying to convince them to look at this guy and not that guy. And so even though you're losing ships, and because I got into that trap early on when we were playing at Gen Con where I was constantly trying to preserve my pirate ship. Right. So I wasn't taking chances. And then halfway through the game, I was like, oh my God, yeah. I mean, he dies and then I can pop in any of these corners. And I was holding on to these cards that would give my pirate ship a really, really long range. And I was, now I want to die. And it was almost like I couldn't die because I wanted to. But so it's a very cool element to the game that your things can die, but they come right back in a way that actually makes it tactical the way they're coming back in. So it's another cool layer to the whole game.
Right. And there's some really cool, these development cards are really cool and they're all different. One of them is, one of your ships per turn gets 2 extra movement. There's one where your pirate ship can teleport to these skull and crossbones squares that appear on the board. There's just some really cool stuff. And as Craig points out, what's great is you don't mind dying so much because when you die, like your merchant ship having a last cube on it, you almost want to die because you get to reload. So it's not a big deal. And your pirate, when he's dead, all of a sudden, as Craig points out, there's merchants near the corner of the board that the seas are open and you're safe. But as soon as a pirate dies, any edge of the board is danger zone now. And all of a sudden, those are all scary. So it's a really great backstabby game where you're always a pirate and always a merchant and always the Navy at the same time. So it's kind of weird. One of the developments too that's really cool is you get to move both Navy ships when you get a Navy card. So it's like you can become like the dominant Navy on the ship. Another one is that you get a letter of marque and you're allowed to the Navy can attack. I think the Navy can attack merchants.
I think it's your merchant ships can attack pirates.
Your merchants can attack pirates, right? There's one that the Navy can attack there's all kinds of weird things that can happen that kind of break the core rules, but it's all in the cards. You don't have to know anything. You just flip the cards over and spend for your development. So really, when you start playing the game, look at your development cards and try to figure out, once you understand the rules after a turn, figure out the sequencing you're going to want to develop because there is going to be times where you really want certain one of those powers early on.
My favorite one was I could use both of my movement cards. But it cost me a fortune card.
Right.
So my second half of my game, I had no fortune cards because I was just whipping out 2 cards a turn, and my ships were flying all over the place. And then Russ gets like, I teleport here, and then I have a tidal wave, but I mean it's awesome because there's a lot of balance there too.
It's great. So that's the whole game. So let's give our final thoughts. But Craig, before we give our final thoughts, please, in the style of a merchant captain,
Did you do the end of the turn?
Yeah,
I don't know where my head is.
Yeah, at the end of the turn, we mentioned that you draw your one movement card back, your fortune cards, and you get your development. You can develop one development card. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
So no problem. So in the style of a merchant captain about to be boarded by pirates.
Yep.
So the pirates are boarding. The grappling hooks are locking into the deck here. Please describe the patent pending D6G rating system.
Okay. Ahoy me hearties, we didn't order any of the, oh my God, they're pirates. That's not a bum boat. Quick, get to the ropes. I don't know. How threatening are they? I don't know. What do you want me to rate them? Well, let's see. Like, Blackbeard would be really, really threatening. So let's say we'd give him like a 2+, the lower the number. And so, I don't know. Look, I thought it was a bum boat. I'm gonna say it's like a 6+. So it's not very threatening at all. So, a low number means really threatening or a really good game if we were talking about a game. And a high number is like really not threatening at all, like a bum boat or a game I really wouldn't want to play if we were doing a game. So I don't know, just get rid of those pirates.
Nice. So yes, the D6G rating system, lower is better. It's the percent chance on a D6 you're going to like it if you were to play it. So let's see. Craig, do you want to give your thoughts here?
I will go first.
Sure.
I mean, you've already talked about the components, so I'm not spoiling anything when I say that the components were beautiful. They're cartoony in a really like cute, almost chibi way. Although, as I said, I'm not really a big chibi guy.
Well, they're not chibi. They're kind of taller. They're more like a
no. But I mean, they're cartoony in a cool, funny, kind of characterful way. Is kind of what I'm trying to
compare it to a style, and I can't think of one, but it's cool.
Yeah, well, I think it's chibi. But
okay,
anyway,
chibi.
And you don't correct my Japanese pronunciation.
All right.
And so, so I mean, they're awesome. And metal coin, I mean, they're thinner than, if you blinged it out with campaign coins or whatever, but they're metal. I didn't feel the need when I was looking at it. The quality of the art is awesome. The graphic design is really cool. I love the fact that you're constantly playing all the time. You're looking at all the ships. The Navy ships are a big threat, but then they're a big asset when it's your turn, if you've got the right cards. I feel like the whole board is in play the whole time because of the way that you're moving and the different kinds of movement cards and the different kinds of upgrade cards and fortune cards. So you're never like, oh, I'm cool. I've built up this trade route, so I'm fine. The game doesn't lend itself to that kind of engine building at all.
Right.
Because it's so chaotic and random, which I think might be a negative for some people, but I think is awesome and fun and constantly engaging. The game is constantly engaging you and challenging you to come up with like, oh crap, I want to go this way. And then something wacky is going to happen and totally knock that, that plan overboard. See what I did there?
Yeah.
And, I just really, really liked it. My only fear is replayability because, there are, it's for 4 players, and I believe there's 6 of each level of upgrade card.
Right. Yes. Right.
So there's a little bit of replayability there. There's going to be a little randomness, but if you play 2 or 3 4-player games, you're going to know all of the upgrade combinations, and I think that's going to start settling into sort of a pattern a little bit, that I would have liked to see a lot more of those just so the game is wildly different every time. But it is going to be wildly different every time because your movement cards, you've got a lot of different movement cards, you've got a lot of different fortune cards, and you're going to be forced to choose do you want to focus more on the fortune or more on using the more powerful movement cards. So I really, really enjoyed it. I'll save your note for when you talk. But I really enjoyed it. I wanted to buy it, and I didn't. I believe it was sold out at Gen Con.
It did go pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I got home, things were, wildly out of whack. So I didn't really play many games, and then the play started up. So I didn't really get a chance to. I would love for Reese to be old enough to play this game with me because I think it's a really cool game. I would love to play this with him when he's a bit older. I think at the same time, I had a blast playing with grown-ups. So it was great because I thought I was doing really well. And then Dave, our friend Dave, like totally at the end was like, oh, by the way, guys. And that was when it was like, oh, you can only do one of these a turn, one upgrade a turn. I was like, no. So it became absolutely impossible for us to catch Dave. And Dave was just like, and I flip it. So I had a blast the whole time. It is wacky. There's some wacky random stuff going on, but I felt engaged all along. I thought the theme was great. It was really cool. I thought the pirates are piratey. The merchants are merchanty. The Navy is this cool thing. Like you want your merchant ships to sort of go where the Navy's going to be. I mean, it kind of does all of that thematically for you without clunky rules or imposing like your pirate has to act this way. Well, doesn't have to act that way, but that's the way it's going to be the coolest. That's the way it's going to get you the most points. And it's all happening at the same time. So it's not forcing you to choose. Do I want to be more merchanty? Do I want to be more piratey? And again, there's going to be players that want to make those choices, that want the game to have, I don't know if I would say more depth to it, but that more complexity to it. I really enjoyed this game and the level at which it hit me, which was a really fun, it takes an hour or if that sometimes. Right. And so that's exactly the game that I want to play lately in my life is I want to sit down and have a fun, fast, engaging game in about an hour. And it did that for me. So I'm going to say that, I'm going to say it's a 4+, so 50-50 chance that you're going to like it. But if you like pirates or you like just fun, wacky kind of games, especially games where you get to stab friends in the back. I'm gonna give it a +1. So that the 3, a 3+, which would mean, for you following along at home, 66.6% chance that you're going to like the game.
Nice.
Yeah.
You went to percentile dice, Craig. Pretty
Yeah. Hey, there you go. I'm trying to speak to multiple constituencies.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's a really fun. I love the components. Anyone who plays this game will fall in love with the components. I played this past week with Jeremy and his wife Megan, and it was Randy, I think. And we had a great time. And the whole time, Megan was like, "This game is it's exactly the piece. How do we not buy this at Gen Con?" The whole time, it's just like, and it's just that kind of game. The components are just like, wow. People walking by, you have to stop and look at it. It's just that kind of a board game. We're just like, wow. And he's like, "Did you bling it out?" No, this is how it comes in the box. Didn't do anything.
Right. Yep.
It's great. So it's the kind of game you just like to play because the components are cool. It is fast and fun. I think the only downside to it is it's a very light game. There's not a lot of depth. There's enough depth. It's depth like a Cutthroat Caverns game is depth. There's backstabbiness, but there's not. It's not like
you're not going to do a lot of strategizing.
Yeah, it's the immediate comparison people have been making when they play it, and this is one that Megan made actually. She said, "This is what I was hoping Merchant Marauders was, but Merchant Marauders was too clunky for her." Mm-hmm. And we reviewed Merchant Marauders. I like Merchant Marauders, but Merchant Marauders has some frustration moments in it. Like you build your whole ship, you work really hard. It's got these really interesting and in-depth rules around ship mechanics, how they work, and then you get sunk and you got to reboot, right? You start over, which can be frustrating. This, as Craig mentioned, this game you just die on your back. Yep. So I don't know that it would. I don't know. What do you feel, Craig? Would it replace Merchants and Marauders for you?
That's an excellent question, Russ. I bought Merchants and Marauders right after we reviewed it. I loved it. I really enjoyed playing it. But exactly as you say, it's these games that have that kind of depth, if that's the word we're going to use. You don't see like the depth half the time when you're playing it because you've got to try to focus on one thing at a time, and if the one thing you focus on you get sunk, then you're like, oh crap, I got to start over. While the other guy gets one good card and he ends up on an island, and oh by the way, you find a frigate. You're like, oh well, that would have been cool. And so I did find that it was frustrating, and it wasn't making it to the table because it's a more elaborate game. There's more stuff to put out there. It's harder to remember the rules. And so does it out Merchants and Marauders? I don't know, but I do know that I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed Merchants and Marauders. And it's a simpler game with fewer components, easier to set up, faster to play. And so I believe that it will get to the table more often. My only concern is I think Merchants and Marauders, because of its complexity, had far more replayability. Yeah. And so I go back to that, the whole game is basically revolving around these upgrades and this race for the upgrades. And considering there's only 2 extra upgrades of each type, you're going to be seeing the same upgrades over and over again. So that replayability concern, I think, is the only thing that would stop me from saying this absolutely will take the place of Merchants and Marauders in my collection. And to be totally honest, at the big Myriad Games auction that they just had, I actually sold my Merchants and Marauders copy. I never played it. It never got played once. I had it all. It was all Planoed out and everything on the inside.
Yeah. I play mine once in a while, but not often because, as you say, it
there's a lot going on there.
It's a long time to play. It's a lot to teach. So unless people play it regularly, what I do like about Merchants and Marauders, this game does not have is Merchants and Marauders. You actually have a story happen with your ship. Like there's that time you rescued this person and you got delivered that cargo so there's a story that happens there, which is neat. And your ship evolves almost like a role playing game where it does this thing. That's not in this game. But if you want a fast, fun, piratey merchanty game where you're doing the things a pirate does, you're doing the thing the merchant does, you're having that experience of life in the Caribbean, but it's fast and light and you can teach it to anyone in like 30 seconds and all of a sudden you're playing to win and not playing to understand the rules. This is that game, and the components are just off the charts great. So I really like it, and it definitely will see the table more than many of the other games simply because it's so easy to teach and easy to play. Right. The only concern is replayability, but if you got kids or something like that, they'll play these games till they fall off the table. So good stuff. So I'm with you, Craig. I'm going to give it a 3+.
Okay,
I haven't played with anyone who doesn't like it. So straight up 3+.
Nice. I was on the cusp of that.
Black Fleet. So there you have it. The Black Fleet.
Ahoy, me hearties.
You know, Romeo had to bail a little early, so we should really thank Romeo for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
I mean, the guy is ridiculously busy.
Yeah, and if you want to find out what he's up to, just head on over to battlefoam.com. All the information's over there, and that's where he lives.
It's awesome stuff.
Cool. So thank you so much, Romeo, and thanks for listening, everyone, and we hope to see you in a couple weeks.
Bye. This edition of Did You Ever Notice is brought to you by all of our fine patrons over at Patreon. These are the guys and gals that are making it possible for us to do what we're doing every episode. Because it does get hard, and the scheduling is extremely difficult to pull off, and we're trying to pull back on the advertisements that some people say they don't like. So a really huge thanks to everybody that makes it happen that way, and a plea, if you will, for those of you who haven't even checked out the video yet, go check out Russ and I's video, my video. I don't know, it's late. And just see what we have to say over there and see if it makes any sense to you. And today, particular, I would like to thank Frank Reynolds, Tim Crosthwaite, Andrew Brown, Mark DeBlasi, and Fred Quiche. Thanks, guys. If it wasn't for you guys, really, I don't think this would keep happening. Because, it's harder and harder to make all the time with all the things that are going on. So thank you for making it possible. Did you ever notice how sometimes people kind of throw a swear in there just to, I don't know, maybe to shock you, or how you're just going along listening to something that's really funny and then all of a sudden there's an F-bomb dropped in there? I notice it a lot. As a teacher, I have to be very conscious of my word choice around my students, and sometimes sometimes you'll say something that you don't mean, or you don't mean it in a way that it is interpreted, and those are some funny moments that you'll never forget. But as far as accidentally dropping the F-bomb, I have had horrific things happen to me on set, and still I wouldn't swear, but that's because I'm super, I would say, hypersensitive to the issue. But I'm extremely sensitive also to it in creative endeavors. Watching like a video, an amateur video, or, like an up and coming studio trying to break through with a what do they call them? A trailer. And then it's just seeded with F-bombs and SH this and that, the other thing. And it stops me. It pulls me out of it, and it makes me wonder why. And I always wonder that. And in my teaching, when I'm dealing with students who are trying to be creative, and of course, many of them are convinced they have to swear to be creative, I always ask them to think about why they're doing everything, because everything has to be justified, in my opinion. And I think I've talked about this before. If you're doing anything, there has to be a reason. If you're going to put something out there that you think is worth someone else spending their valuable time reading it or listening to it or watching it, then you have to put a lot of thought and energy into making that worthwhile. And you owe that person that time and that effort. So in that endeavor, you have to have a reason for everything. Don't just throw in a splashy special effect unless you know why you're putting that in there. Don't drop an F-bomb unless you know why you're putting it in there. And that's kind of where I am today. I was watching something and it was pretty neat, and I was going to show it to my students, and then F-bomb. And I was like, nope, well, can't do that. And that's a unique situation. I mean, most people in the world, thank God for them, aren't teachers and don't have to worry about that sort of thing. But there's many, many people who listen to podcasts and songs and all manner of things in their car with their kids, have it on TV. There's a lot of different, there's people who are sensitive, people who just don't like hearing swears. And the thing, and I've had this argument. I've had it on a professional level multiple times in my life. I've had it involving theater. I've had it involving film projects that I worked on, and I've had it involving writing right up until these current projects that I'm working on. And it never ceases to amaze me that there are always people that are like, yeah, oh, throw in an F this and an F that. I want people to really know this guy's like serious. Well, there are ways to make that guy serious without throwing in the F-bomb. And what you have to understand, and maybe you can't, maybe what you're trying to do, legitimately you think you cannot do this without those swears. And I'm positive that there are things out there that of which that is true. And if you look at all of these R-rated comedies that are making lots of money, there's your argument right there. There are reasons to do this. There are times and things, places for this to be done. But I think you need to be super careful about it. And this is the ultimate argument. And I come from a product-oriented background. So my background is you need to do theater not because it's theater, but to put butts in the seats. And that's how you justify what you're doing. And I've seen it done extremely well in lots of different places, and it's all a question of how many butts you want to put in the seats. So I've seen and been involved with productions whose goal was to put 100 butts in the seat. And for those productions, you're going to be edgy. You're going to push the boundaries. You're going to explore themes that you wouldn't explore in a Disney musical, for instance. But you've got to be aware of what you're trying to do. And what you have to do as far as the swearing goes is you have to understand that you drop one F-bomb in there and you have lost people, okay? Whether they're the people you want or not, that may be the case, but you have lost people for that F-bomb. And just one. All it takes is one. And so you have to ask yourself, like, what am I gaining, basically? And 9 times out of 10, here's my argument. You're not gaining anything. The English language, and of course, I have to assume that every other language, this bears true with as well. There are ways for you to convey things without dropping that F-bomb or using those other, words that will alienate and stop people from listening to you or paying attention to you or watching your video or whatever it is you're doing. It doesn't make you look cool with you can't hear my air quotes, just to drop in that F-bomb. And how many of us are still locked in that high school mentality where the cool kids, they swear, man, it's all beep, 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 boop, beep. And it doesn't make you cool just because you're swearing. And again, the cool thing about these artistic endeavors is that you have to make the call. You're the one who's making the call. It's up to you whether it's worth it. But what you need to understand is that you are losing audience because that's the choice you made. And that's 100%, that's true, that's factual. You are never, and here's my the counter side of my argument, and this is what usually wins when I'm talking to people who are mostly concerned about money, butts in the seats, clicks, views, whatever, okay? How many people are gonna watch your thing and then at the end they're gonna complain because nobody said the F word? Nobody is going to complain unless you're doing like an expose on meth culture or something where everybody talks like that already, okay? But to be honest, like let's step back a little bit, and there's a billion square miles of gray area where do people sometimes swear when they're role playing? Yes, sometimes they do. Do some people swear when they're playing miniature games? You should hear Russ when he's on one of his, what I call Kid Russ rants. But usually, not. And certainly it's not endemic of the culture. It's not part of what the culture is all about. So you don't have to put it in there. Who's going to be watching your cartoon about Lord of the Rings role playing, let's put it that way, and at the end of the comic strip going to go, wow, man, not a single one of those guys said F. Nobody's going to do that. You didn't lose a single person because you didn't do that. But what happens if you start dropping them in there? You're going to lose people. It's simple math. And it's what I don't understand, I guess. Sometimes you can tell, oh, yep, they absolutely had to do that. But you know what? One of the best TV shows ever about drug culture where they swear all the time. As far as I know, I wouldn't know, but Breaking Bad, how many Fs were in that entire 5 seasons? None. There you go. See, you can do it. But I'm not going on a rant. I don't hate people who swear. It doesn't offend me. It just strikes me as I'm very aware of it because of my teaching. And it always strikes me as an intriguing, creative choice. And so if you're out there, you're making creative efforts, you're making endeavors, especially if you're trying to break into a new area, by all means, push the boundaries, make your statement, make your claim, stake your claim, but think before you use language that's going to be, yes, there are going to be people who are offended by hell and things like that. And I guess you're going to lose people for saying that too. So it's every person's got their own individual take, their own unique taste that you can't cater to everybody. But at the same time I believe there is a select group of words whose usage does cost you more than it gains you, usually. And so, I would just say to those people who are on the brink of breaking into some new endeavor, think about it. And that's really all I've got to say. If you decide you're going to do it, go ahead and do it. And I'm still going to watch. I'm still going to listen if it crosses my path. It's not going to stop me, but it's always something to think about. And that's all I've got to say about that. So thanks for listening and good night.
Achievement unlocked! You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@the d6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA discussions forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening and happy gaming.
The theme from Total Fangirl comes from the soundtrack of The Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, courtesy of Flying Frog Productions, and is a composition of Mary Beth Magalanes.
And we should warn you that we have now there's a live chat room that will be listening in on us while we do this segment and only this segment.
Right.
And it's full, man. It's full. There's like 8 people in it.
I'm sure there are going to be plenty.
All right.
No, literally. There's less than that now.
We're just starting.
We've lost several.
It's
1,
a new
2,
experiment.
3, 4. There's 5 people in there now,
so
not including me.
Yeah, it's a new experiment. We're trying this out. It's a thing.
Yeah,
so
it's a thing.
It's a thing. So I'm going to turn this on now live so they'll be able to hear us. So just so you know, people can hear you starting now. Hey everybody, we're live. Just you're getting to see the sausage get made right here. This is it.
That's not a nice way to put it.
I thought you were about to say you're going to see the sausage.
Period.
No.
Yeah, and that's wrong. That's like totally against the family thing. So obviously you can hear that Romeo is with us. So we are going to. Oh, a bunch of people just jumped on.
They heard. See, they heard Romeo. They're like, "Oh my God, Romeo's on the show."
Andy's boat must have just landed,
or off a bridge.
They might have just jumped off a bridge. That's
nice.
Get this guy off the air.